over 1,400 Israelis he took prisoners. Israel's ability to be able to defend itself.
He called
is
him Iran.
Fundamental.
He knows they're terrorists.
Hostages back, fundamental, and ending.
So look at the dude's brows on the fucking JDs.
Gaza.
Oh, no.
But the expansion of Israel and its proxies is an absolute fundamental necessity for the United States to have the steady leadership there. You saw it experienced today, where along
I still have
with
all
our,
the stuff from the
Israeli
last
partners
debate up.
and our coalition able to stop the incoming attack. But what's fundamental here is that steady leadership is going to matter. It's clear, and the world saw it on that debate stage a few weeks ago. A nearly 80-year-old Donald Trump talking about is not what
I'm
we
locking
need
in, bro. You're
moment.
bullshitting.
But it's not just that. It's those that were closest to Donald Trump that understand how dangerous he is when the world is this dangerous. His chief of staff, John Kelly, said that he was the most flawed human being he'd ever met. And both of his secretaries of defense and his national security advisors said he should be nowhere near the White House. Now, the person closest to them, Donald Trump, said he's unfit for the highest office. That was Senator Vance. What we've seen out of Vice President Harris is we've seen steady leadership.
There you go, call it by your name, bro.
That is able to be able to draw on the coalition.
He's looking kind of shaky, this Timmy guy.
Understanding
that
our allies matter. When our allies see
JD's looking fucking fresh, dude, looking clean.
He's the youngest person in the race right now, isn't
North Korea. When we start to see that type of fickleness around holding the coalitions together, we will stay committed. And as the vice president said today we will protect our forces and our allied forces, and there will be consequences.
Boo!
Governor,
Stop the genocide.
Senator Vance, the same question. Would you support
Free Palestine.
A preemptive strike by Israel?
I was about to say, dude, he's about to say some wild shit.
So, Margaret, I want to answer the question. First of all, thanks, Governor, thanks to CBS for hosting the debate, and thanks most importantly to the American people who are watching this evening
order some
and
donuts.
caring enough about this country.
Hey, bro,
to pay
stop
attention to
fucking
this
glazing up the
presidential
American
debate.
people and answer the
the
fucking
question. But I want to
dude.
actually give an introduction to myself a little bit because I recognize
He wants to answer the question, but he's doing other bullshit.
I was raised in a working class family.
They should be muting him right now, no?
Food assistance for periods of her life. My
he's not going over his 2 minutes.
Oh, you said if they go on with their bullshit. This seems a little on with their bullshit type shit to me, you know?
I went to college on the GI Bill after I enlisted in the Marine Corps and served in Iraq. And so I stand here asking to be your vice president.
He serves in Iraq. Did he got a Dodge Charger?
For this country, for the American dream that made it possible for me to live my dreams. And most importantly, I know that a lot of you are worried about the chaos in the world and the feeling that the American dream is unattainable.
I don't like his hair.
I want to try to convince you tonight over the next 90 minutes that if we
you don't like his hair? That's like a normal ass haircut, Eric.
It's
like kind of
White House.
It's like kind of towards the middle.
The American dream is going to be attainable once again. Now, to answer this particular question, we have to remember
my man just
yapped
for fucking 70 seconds.
Trump of being an agent of chaos, Donald Trump actually delivered stability in the world, and he did it by establishing effective deterrence. People were afraid of stepping out of line. Iran, which launched this attack, has received over $100 billion in unfrozen assets thanks to the Kamala Harris
Who's going to fear Mamala, dude?
What do they use that money for? They use it to buy weapons that they're now launching against our allies, and God forbid, potentially launching against the United States as well. Donald Trump recognized that for people to fear the United States, you needed peace through strength. They needed to
he's looking better than Trump
if they got out of line,
yeah, 100%. I mean, it's not very hard.
No, but that is a little scary, you know?
Now, you asked about a preemptive strike, Margaret, and I want to answer the question.
Him to just blabber on.
To Israel, what they think they need to do to keep their country safe.
Every time that I've ever seen him, it's been mostly, you know, like
fighting the bad guys. I think that's the right approach to take with the Israel question.
Bad
him buying bullshit.
Senator.
Yeah.
Governor Walz,
and so
do
it's
you
like
care to respond to any of the
him being
allegations?
semi-competent is like, oh, that's not great
we'll
for us.
sometimes hear a revisionist history, but when Donald Trump was in office, it was Donald Trump who we had a coalition of nations that had boxed Iran's nuclear program in, the inability to advance it. Donald Trump pulled that program and put nothing else in its place. So Iran is closer to a nuclear weapon than they were before because of Donald Trump's fickle leadership. And when Iran shot down an American aircraft in international airspace, Donald Trump tweeted, because that's the standard diplomacy of Donald Trump.
Get him, bro.
And when Iranian missiles did fall near U.S. troops and they received traumatic brain injuries, Donald Trump wrote it off as headaches.
Don't love that.
Look, our allies understand that Donald Trump is fickle. He will go to whoever has the most flattery or where it makes sense to him. Steady leadership like you witnessed today, like you witnessed in April.
Dude. We don't say it nowadays.
Attacks were repelled.
Come on.
Our coalition is strong, and we need the steady leadership that Kamala Harris has provided.
See, he was beta, dude.
Senator Vance, the U.S. did have a diplomatic deal with Iran to temporarily pause
he was
its nuclear
Rizless.
program, and President Trump did exit that deal. He recently
he was so
said,
Ohio.
just 5 days ago,
So
the U.S.
skibbity.
must now make a diplomatic deal with Iran because the consequences are impossible. Did he make a mistake? You have 1 minute.
Well, first of all, Margaret, diplomacy is not a dirty word, but I think that's something that Governor Walz just said is
But
quite
the word
extraordinary.
fuck is.
You yourself just said Iran is as close to a nuclear weapon today.
Should I never started streaming to the vertical?
Scientists say and
Should I never started streaming to the vertical?
Scientists say climate change makes these hurricanes larger,
We're back,
stronger, and more deadly because of the historic rainfall. Senator Vance, according to CBS News polling,
damn, he's talking about deadly rain, dude.
And more than
Eric, you're so far ahead of me.
60%
It's so funny.
Republicans under the age of
Let
45
me refresh.
favor the U.S. taking
bro, don't
steps to try
refresh
and
him.
reduce climate change. Senator, what
He's like, climate change isn't real.
would the Trump administration have to try and reduce the impact of climate change? I'll give you 2 minutes.
Sure. So first of all, let's start with the hurricane because it's an unbelievable, unspeakable human tragedy. I
Hey,
just
Yellow
saw
Ducky,
today,
thank you
actually,
for the
a
follow,
photograph
brother. We're out
of
here.
two grandparents
Hey,
on
shut
a
up.
roof with
Doing
a
the
6-year-old
Lord's
child. And
work.
it was the last photograph ever taken of them because
Making
the roof
fun of
collapsed,
Republicans
and those innocent people
when they
lost
go,
their lives. And I'm sure Governor Walz
Making
joins
fun of the
me in
weirdos,
saying,
dude.
Yeah,
let's go out to those
who
innocent
have sex
people.
with
Our
couches.
prayers go out to them, and we want as robust and aggressive as a federal response as we can get to save as many lives as possible, and then of course afterwards to help the people in those communities rebuild. I mean, these are communities that I love. Some of them I know very personally in Appalachia, all across the Southeast.
Appalachia.
They need their government to do their job.
I see him
And
calling out
commit
Appalachia,
that
trying to
when
get people
Donald
to
Trump
love
is
him, bro.
president
I
again,
see you,
the
big
government
dog.
will put the citizens of this country first when they suffer from a disaster. Now, Nora, you asked about climate change. I think this is a very important issue. Look, a lot of people are justifiably
Dude, he
worried
is a
about all these
fucking
crazy weather
expert
patterns. I think it's
yapper.
important for us, first of all, to say
My man is
Donald
yapping
Trump and
crazy.
I support clean air, clean water. We want the environment to be cleaner and safer. But one of the things that I've noticed some of our Democratic friends talking a lot about is a concern about carbon emissions, this idea that carbon emissions drives all of the climate change. Well, let's just say that's
now
true.
you're ahead
Just
of
for
me,
the sake
dude.
of
What the
argument,
fuck?
so we're not arguing about weird science. Let's just say that's
I'll
true.
reload, dude.
Well, if you believe that, what would you'd want to reshore as much American manufacturing as possible, and you'd want to produce as much energy as possible in the United States of America.
Reshore
because we're
or
the cleanest
reassure?
economy in the entire world.
I don't know.
What have Kamala Harris's policies actually
Reshore,
led
I
to?
think. Like, bring it
More
back to
energy
our
production in
shores.
China, more manufacturing overseas,
It's a Pam
more
Pam
doing business
situation.
in some of the dirtiest parts of the entire world. And when I say that, I
can
mean
help with that.
the amount
Oh,
of
he's
carbon
back.
emissions they're doing per
This
unit
man
of
just
economic
sidestepped
output.
climate
So
change
if we
existing?
actually care
Yes,
about
he
getting
did.
cleaner air
That's-
and cleaner
okay.
water,
He's answered it the
best thing to
same.
do is to
Both of his
double down
questions,
and
he's
invest
just
in
walked.
American
He
workers and
danced
the American
around it.
people. And unfortunately, Kamala Harris has done exactly
Timmy's
the
over there
opposite.
like, bro, what the fuck is this guy
Governor
even
Walz,
saying?
you have 2 minutes to respond.
Well, we got
Let's say-
close
let's-
to an
for
agreement
argument's sake,
because
let's
all
say
those
it
things are
exists.
happening. Look, first of all,
He said, well, we got
is a
close.
horrific tragedy with this hurricane, and my heart goes out to the folks that are down there in
Dude,
contact
homie's
with the
looking at me in
governors.
my
I serve
soul,
as
dude.
Dude, he really is.
co-chair of the Council of Governors as we work together on these emergency managements. Governors know no partisanship. They work together to solve
Oh,
the
we have to
governors
reset
and the
his
emergency
programming there.
responders on the ground. Those happen on the front end.
Come on, Eric.
The federal government comes in, makes sure they're there to that we recover, but
You're
we're still in
ruthless,
that
bro.
phase where we need to make sure that they're staying there, staying focused. Now, look, coming back to the climate change issue, there's no doubt this thing roared onto the scene faster and stronger than anything we've seen. Senator Vance
Damn, bro,
has said
I
that
see
there's
you
a climate
spitting,
problem in the
Tim.
past. Donald Trump called it a hoax and then joked that these things would make more beachfront property to be able to invest in. What we've seen out of the Harris administration now, the Biden-Harris administration, is we've seen this investment. We've seen massive investments, the biggest in global history that we've seen in the Inflation
He is looking a
Reduction
little
Act.
slow, though.
That's created jobs.
I know
all
that's
over
not
the
what we're
country.
really
2000
grading him on, but he is
Jeffersonville,
looking a little
Ohio,
slow.
taking the EV technology that we invented.
He
and
definitely
making
could
it
be
here.
dinged, you know, for
200,000
that.
jobs across the country.
Somebody'll ding
The
him.
largest solar manufacturing plant in North America.
Still
sits in
say he
Minnesota.
was too
But my
slow.
farmers know climate change is real.
JD
He's
just looks
dragging
like
a bit.
500-year
he had more energy.
500-year floods back to
More
back.
highlighter.
But what they're doing is adapting.
More
and this
highlighter,
has
for
allowed
sure.
them to tell me, look, I harvest corn, I harvest soybean, and I harvest wind. We are producing more natural gas and more oil at any time than we ever have. We're also producing more clean energy. So the
Clean coal.
solution for us is to continue to move forward, that climate change is real. Reducing our
Let's go
impact
nuclear,
is
Timmy.
critical. But
Dude,
this is not
if a
false
presidential
choice.
candidate
You can do
dropped
at
that,
the same
they're
time
getting my
you're
vote no
creating
matter
the
what their
jobs
other
that we're seeing
policies are.
all across the country. That's
Wind.
exactly what this
Yellow
administration
ducky.
has done.
Wind.
We are seeing us becoming an energy superpower for the future, not just the current. And that's what absolutely makes sense. And then we start thinking about how do we mitigate these disasters.
Thank you. Senator, I want to give you an opportunity to respond there. The governor mentioned that President Trump has called climate change a hoax. Do you agree?
Well, look, what the president has said is that if the Democrats, in particular,
I think he called it a hoax.
And her
Yeah.
leadership, if they really believe that climate
Well, you
change is
see-
serious, what they
No,
need to do
that's
is
cap
more
would be wild.
manufacturing and more energy production in the United States of America, and that's not what they're doing. So clearly, Kamala Harris herself doesn't believe her own
Vice
rhetoric
President
on this. If she
Harris,
did, she
dog.
would actually agree with Donald Trump's energy policies. Now, something Governor Walz said I think is important to touch upon, because when we talk about
Is he
clean
called
energy,
the
I think
people
that's a slogan
those
that
people?
often the Democrats will use
What do you mean,
here.
Tim?
We're talking, of course, about
Undesirables.
Democratic
Oh,
leadership.
God.
Timmy's staring him
And the real
down,
issue
dude.
is that
Super
if you're
criminals.
spending hundreds of millions or even billions of dollars of American taxpayer
really is
money
just staring
on
at his
solar
ass.
panels that are made in
Jesus.
China,
He's hoping he
number
looks
one,
at him,
you're gonna
so-
make the economy dirtier. We should be making
really
those
turned
solar
around.
panels here in the United
They are,
States of
Minnesota.
America. Some of them are, Tim, but a lot of them are being made overseas in China, especially the components that go into those solar panels. So if you really
Ooh, they're
want to
getting into
make
it. Get
the
into it,
environment
dude. Let it
cleaner,
get chippy.
you've got to
Dude,
invest
he's
in more
getting
energy
Tim
production.
mad.
We haven't built a nuclear facility, I think.
He's
one
writing down in the
past
notebook,
40
this
years.
dumb
Natural
fuck.
gas. We
Got his
to
death
invest
note
more
on the
in.
fucking
This
podium,
has
dude.
done the opposite. That's raised
Go
energy
letter by
prices.
letter.
It also meant that we're doing
Senator,
worse by
your
the
time
climate.
is up. Governor, would you like to respond?
Oh, at least he's
Look,
like actually
we're producing
stopping
more
when it's
natural
done.
gas than we ever have. There's no moratorium on that. We're producing more oil, but the folks know, and like I said again, these are not liberal folks. These are not folks that
Hey,
are
bro.
Green New Deal folks. These are farmers that have been drought one year, massive flooding the next year. They understand that it makes sense. Look, our number one export cannot be topsoil from erosion from these massive storms. We saw it in Minnesota this summer. And thinking about how do we respond to that, we're thinking ahead on this. And what Kamala Harris has been able to do in Minnesota, we're starting to weatherproof some of these things. The infrastructure law that was passed allows us to think about mitigation in the future.
But
do
how
we
much
make
is
sure that we're
weatherproofing
protecting by
gonna
burying
fucking
our power
stop
lines? How do we
when
make
we're
sure
still
that we're
doing all the bad
protecting
shit?
lakefronts and things that
Dude,
we're seeing
it's
more and more of?
weatherproofing.
But to
Yeah,
call
done.
dollars
There you
and
go.
It's
take
over.
the oil company executives
in the word,
to Mar-a-Lago
idiot.
It's
and
proof.
say, give me money for my
Stupid.
campaign, and I'll let you do whatever you want. We can be smarter about that, and in all
Thank
of
you,
our
Nora. My
energy
suit is
policies,
pink.
exactly
Yeah.
what she's doing, creating
Really
those jobs
pink.
right here.
Governor, your time is up. The overwhelming consensus among scientists is that the Earth's climate is warming at an unprecedented rate. Margaret?
Thank you, Nora. We're going to turn now to
Oh, I just got to the
immigration.
part where you
crisis
just
at the
referenced Jack.
US-Mexico border
Thank you, Nora.
consistently
My-
ranks as
my
one of
dress
the
is very
top
pink.
issue
It's
for
massively
American
pink. I was
voters.
not told that this would be
Senator
like. I thought the
Vance,
color correction would be a
your
little bit
campaign
stronger
is
here.
pledging to carry out the largest mass deportation plan
Why does
in
he always
American
look
history
like he just shit
and
his
to
pants?
use the U.S. military to do so.
He can smell his
Could you
own
be more
fart.
specific about exactly how this
Before
will
we talk
work?
about this,
For example, would you deport parents who
world's
have
first
entered
fart
the
mic.
U.S. illegally and
Watch this.
separate them from any of their children who were born on U.S. soil? You have 2 minutes.
So first of all,
Yeah,
Margaret,
you know
before
my
we
answer
talk
for
about
that one.
deportations,
Yeah.
we have to stop the
As
bleeding.
you know,
We have
I'm married to a
historic
brown woman.
immigration crisis because Kamala
He is
Harris
married.
started and said that she wanted to undo all of Donald Trump's border policies. 94 executive orders suspending deportations,
Bro, but
decriminalize
the Democrats have
illegal aliens,
proven that they're not gonna do that.
massively increasing the asylum fraud that exists.
Yeah,
in our
Democrats are
system.
literally
That has
leaning
opened
towards,
the floodgates.
Yeah.
And
the
what this
right with
meant
their
is that a lot of
policies with
fentanyl
that.
is coming into our country.
That's the
I had a
thing that
mother who
trips me
struggled
up,
with
because
opioid
everybody's like,
addiction and has gotten
fucking
clean.
Kamala is
I
letting all the
don't want
illegals in.
people who are
Bro, they've
struggling
been
with
keeping
addiction
more
to be
illegals out
deprived
than
of their
Trump
second
did.
chance because Kamala Harris let
Yeah.
in fentanyl into our communities.
Oh
at
my God, the
record
fucking
levels.
fentanyl.
So you've got to stop the bleeding. You've got to re-implement Donald Trump's border policies. Build
you
the
are
wall,
deliciously about
re-implement
45 seconds
deportations,
behind
and that
me.
gets me to your point,
Yeah.
Margaret, about what do we actually
Refresh
do?
check.
So we've got 20,
Don't refresh
25
check.
million
It's
illegal
gonna put you
aliens who are
behind.
here in the country. What do we do with them? I think the first thing that we do is we start with the criminal migrants. About 1 million
Illegal
of those
aliens.
people have
Illegal
committed
criminal migrants is
in
crazy.
addition to crossing the border illegally. I think you start with deportations on those folks. And then I think you make it harder for illegal aliens to undercut the wages of American workers. A lot of people will go home if they can't work for less than minimum wage in our own country. And by the way, that'll be really good for our workers who just want to earn a fair wage for doing a good day's work.
How is getting rid of the illegal aliens going to help
right now in this country?
Poor Americans make more money. What the fuck does that even mean, bro?
That the Department of Homeland Security has effectively lost.
Well, no, then
some of them
they
have
get
been
all the
sex
jobs like raking
trafficked,
and
some of
shit.
them hopefully are
Like
at homes with
picking
their
strawberries?
families.
You
Some
mean
of
the
them
jobs
have
that
been
they
used
don't
as drug
fucking
trafficking
want?
mules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The real family separation
That's the other
policy in this
argument that I've
country
never
is
fucking understood.
unfortunately
How many
Kamala
poor
Harris's
white
wide
people
open
do you
southern
see out there
border.
begging to
I'd
pick a
ask my
fucking
fellow
strawberry
Americans
and
to
they're like,
remember
no,
when
we
she
got all the
came into
Mexicans
office,
doing
she
it?
said she was going to do
Not
this.
fucking
Real
one, dog.
leadership would be saying, you know what, I screwed up. We're going to go back to Donald Trump's border policies. I wish that she would do that. It would be good for all of us.
Governor, do you care to respond to any of those specific
No.
allegations, including that the vice president is,
question.
quote, letting in fentanyl and using kids as drug mules, among other things regarding children?
The drug mule is not true, but I will say about this, about the fentanyl, because this is a crisis.
drug
This is
mule's
the
not
opioid
true.
crisis, and the good news
First
on
off,
this
you're an
is
idiot,
the last
but-
12 months saw the largest
You're a
decrease in
moron for
opioid
even
deaths in our
entertaining this
nation's
dumb
history.
fuck.
30%
Your suit is
decrease in
stupid. Now
Ohio.
let's move on.
There's still more work to
Come on.
do. But let's go back to this on immigration. Kamala Harris was the Attorney General of the largest state.
Yeah,
a
they
border
like the
state in
announcers to
California.
go in
She's the
like
only
that
person
one,
in this race who prosecuted
that
transnational
lady that
gangs
did
for human
last time.
trafficking
Yeah.
and drug interventions.
I mean, they kind of
Look,
did with
we all
the
wanna
whole,
solve
like,
it.
the earth
Most
is
of us
warming
want
at an
to solve
alarming rate
this.
shit.
And that is the United States Congress. That's the Border Patrol agents. That's the Chamber of Commerce. That's most Americans out here. That's why we had the fairest and the toughest bill on immigration.
All
that
my
this nation
homies
seen.
hate Border Patrol,
It was
dude.
crafted by
Same.
a
Fuck 'em.
conservative senator from Oklahoma, James Lankford. I know him. He's
Well, they're
super
risking
conservative, but he's a man
their
of
lives to
principle.
keep
Wants
the
to get it
company
done.
shut the
Democrats
fuck
and
up. They should get a
Republicans
real
worked on this piece of
fucking job.
legislation. The Border Patrol
Not be
say,
fucking
"This is what we need in
glorified
here. These are the
goddamn Hall
experts."
Patrol
And the Chamber of
monitors.
Commerce and the Wall Street
Get the
Journal said,
fuck out of here,
"Pass this."
bitch
And
ass.
Kamala Harris helped get there.
No, I don't have a hall
1,500 new
pass.
border
Eat my
agents.
ass.
Detection for
Oh, that was my
drugs.
go-to line.
DOJ money to speed up these the adjudications on this, just what America wants. But as soon as I was getting ready to pass and actually tackle this, Donald Trump said no.
Ooh,
Told them
adjudications.
to vote against it because it gives him a campaign issue. It gives him what would Donald Trump talk about if we actually did some of these things? And they need to be done.
It's
by
true.
the legislature. You
It's
can't
true.
just
Jimmy,
do
it's
this
true.
through
You
the
gotta call him
executive
out.
branch. So look, we have the options to do this. Donald Trump had
Yeah,
4
Trump was
years.
like, no, I
He had
wanna
4
do it.
years to do
I
this.
wanna be the
And
one
he
that pushes the
promised
button.
you, America,
gotta be
how
me.
easy it would be. I'll
I
build
gotta
you
get
a
my
big,
Cheeto dust
beautiful
all over
wall,
it.
and
Vote
Mexico will
no.
pay for it. Less than 2% of that wall got built, and Mexico didn't pay a dime. But here we are
Hit
again,
'em, bro.
9
Mexico
years
didn't pay
after he came
shit.
down that escalator, dehumanizing people and telling them what he was
Oh,
going
no.
to do. As
9
far as
years,
the-
holy
slow,
shit.
dude.
At one point, Senator Vance said it was so unworkable to be laughable. So that's where we're at. Pass the bill, she'll sign it.
Governor, your time is up. Senator, the question was, will you separate parents from their children, even if their kids
Yeah, get
are
'em.
U.S.
He didn't answer
citizens?
that
You have
shit.
1 minute.
Margaret, my point is that we already have massive child separations thanks to
He
Kamala
really does
Harris's
always
open
look like he
border.
smelled
I
his
didn't
fart.
accuse Kamala
Yeah,
Harris
dude, I'm telling
of
you.
inviting drug mules. I said that she enabled the Mexican drug cartels.
He's like, I've been eating
to
broccoli.
operate
Why does
freely
this
in
stink so
country.
bad?
And we know that they use children as drug mules, and it is a disgrace.
You're going to catch
and
up in
it
50
has to
seconds when
stop.
JD Vance says
Look, I
smell
think what
test
Tim
right after
said
you
just
talked about
doesn't
that.
pass the smell test. For 3
did.
years,
The
Kamala
smell
Harris
test.
went out bragging that she was going to undo Donald Trump's border
Fucking hell, I
policy.
gotta
She
refresh
did
this.
exactly that. We had a record number of illegal crossings. We had a record number of fentanyl coming into our country. And now that she's running for president, or a few months before, she says that somehow she got religion and cared a lot about a piece of legislation. The only thing that she did
She got
when she
religion.
became the vice president,
Yeah,
when she
what a
became
weird
the
call out. I
appointed
don't know.
border czar, was to undo
a weird turn of
94
phrase here.
Donald Trump executive actions that opened the border. This problem is leading to massive problems in the United States of America. Parents who can't afford health care, schools that are overwhelmed. It's got to stop, and it will when Donald Trump is president again.
Senator,
Bro,
your
what fucking
time is
schools
up.
are
Governor,
overwhelmed with illegals?
What about our CBS
Show me
News
one, bitch.
polling, which does show that a majority of Americans, more than 50%, support mass deportations?
Look, we fix this issue.
More than
with a bill that is
50%
necessary, but the
agree with
issue on
mass
this is what happens when
deportations?
you
That's
don't wanna
fucking
solve
crazy.
it.
I'd have to
You
see those
demonize
numbers,
it.
man.
And we saw this.
Who'd you survey,
Senator
West
Vance
Virginia?
surprised
Right.
me with this, talking about and saying, I will
Fucking
create
Arizona.
stories to bring attention to this. That vilified a large number of people who were here legally in the community of Springfield. The Republican
That's the other thing too. Like these racist fucks are just going to see someone whose English is broken and be like, they must be illegal. Bro, that little old lady might have been here for the last 20 fucking years and just could never learn the language. You're just being a racist prick.
And the consequences in Springfield were
my
the
grandparents.
governor had to send state law enforcement
not speak
to escort kindergartners to school.
English is fucking hard.
I believe Senator Vance wants to
I
solve
speak
this,
the shit and can
but by
barely
standing
speak
with
it.
Donald Trump and not working together to find a solution, it becomes a talking point. And when it becomes a talking point like this, we dehumanize and villainize other human beings.
Tim,
Governor, your time is up. Senator, I'll give you 1 minute. But
No
let me
shit,
just
I stopped talking.
Ask you the question first.
Dude,
The governor has made the point, and I think as a sitting lawmaker, you know that
So
Congress
far, the other
controls the
two
purse
fucking
strings
moderators
and
were
funding.
leagues above
so
these
you
guys.
have said repeatedly that Donald
Fucking
Trump
CBS,
would,
dude.
through executive action, solve this. Do you disagree that Congress controls the purse strings?
He
that would
almost
need
looks
to
like he's
support
choking back throw
many
up.
of the changes that you would actually want to
Empowering our
implement? You have
law
1 minute.
enforcement.
First of all, the
What the fuck
gross
does that
majority of what we
mean?
need to do at the southern border is just empowering law enforcement to do their job. I've been to the southern
Like
border. more than our
what? What?
borders are covered.
Empower them to do what?
AR-15s with dual mags,
Hey,
dude.
man,
Border Patrol
go out
agents,
there and
they
do your
just want
best.
to be empowered to do their
Here's
job.
this
Champs.
grenade.
Additional
Try to hit
resources
the
would
biggest
help.
kid you
But most
can.
of this is
Like
about the
what?
president and the vice
8%
president
are max.
empowering
Yeah.
our law enforcement to say, if you try to come across the border
You
illegally,
ever played Mortal
you've got to
Kombat?
stay in
Try to
Mexico,
fatality
you've got to
one
go
of
back
these
to the proper
motherfuckers.
channels.
Here's a
Governor Walz
flamethrower.
brought up
Yeah.
the community of Springfield, and he's very worried about
Make
the
some
things that
chicharrones
are
out of their
happening in
ass.
Springfield. Look, in
Here's
Springfield,
Agent
Ohio,
Orange,
and
fuck it.
Oh my
communities
God.
all across this country, you've got schools that are overwhelmed.
You know what we did in
Blames the
Fallujah?
housing crisis on
You've got
illegals.
housing that is totally unaffordable because we brought
What?
in millions of illegal immigrants to compete with Americans.
I've never
for
understood
scarce
that
homes.
either.
The people that I'm most worried about in
It's like,
Springfield,
you
Ohio,
think
No, what's the
illegal-
logic behind that?
American citizens
They think
who
that
have had
illegal
their lives
immigrants. So
destroyed
what
by
I've
Kamala
heard
Harris's
is
open
towards
border.
like the
It is a
Haitian immigrants,
disgrace
which
to
aren't
them.
illegal
And
at
I
all.
actually think, I
But it'll
agree
be
with
like
you. I think
6
you wanna solve
dudes
this
will
problem,
rent one
but I don't
house,
think that Kamala
and
Harris
so
does.
the landlords
Senator,
will
time is
increase
up.
the
Governor,
rent
you
to
have 1 minute to
$1,800 a
respond.
month
Well,
because they know these
it
6
is law
dudes can pay the
enforcement that asked for the
$1,800.
bills. They
So they're
helped craft it. They're
which
the
really
ones that
it's the
supported it.
landlords.
It was-
It's not
that's
the
because they
It's
know
not
they
an
need to
illegal
do this.
issue. That's a
This
landlord
issue of
problem.
continuing
Yeah.
to bring this up, of not
It's
dealing
us not
with it,
having laws
of blaming
protecting
migrants
fucking
for
renters.
everything. On housing, we could talk a little bit about Wall Street speculators buying up housing and making
Yes.
it less affordable.
King
But it becomes
shit.
a blame.
Get their
this
asses,
bill
bro.
Also gives the money necessary
BlackRock.
to adjudicate. I agree. It should not take 7 years for an asylum claim to be done. This bill gets
Hell
it done
yeah.
in 90 days. Then you start to make a difference in this, and you start to adhere to
90
what we
days,
know,
you
American
find out if
principles.
they should be
Look,
here
I
or
don't
not.
talk about my faith
Kick
a
'em
lot,
out if you're gonna be
but
racist
Matthew
about it.
25:40
Be
talks
done with it.
about
Beyonce
to the
did.
least amongst us you do unto me. I think that's true of most Americans. They
And he did
simply
adjudication.
want order to it. This bill does it. It's funded. It's supported by the people who do it, and it lets us keep our dignity about how we treat other people.
Thank you, Governor. And just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status, temporary
And have
protected
eaten animals.
status. Nora?
Oh my God.
Thank you, Senator.
Just
We have so
moderate.
much
Just
to
say
get to.
no.
Margaret, I think
Yeah.
it's important
We're
because
gonna turn out of the
debate-
economy. Thank
Margaret,
you.
Mute his mic.
Fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on.
Why the
Bro,
fuck are
this
they letting
fucking
cops?
network sucks.
One app,
Ass,
where
bro.
you can go on as an
They
illegal
literally
migrant,
said the
apply
network
for
has the
asylum
right to
or apply
mute,
for
and they
parole
didn't mute there.
and be
That means that they're going
granted
out of their way
legal
not to mute
status
him.
at the
If they
wave
mute
of
Tim,
a
it's a
Kamala
fucking
Harris
travesty.
open border wand. That is not a person coming in, applying for a green card and waiting for 10 years. That
Thank
is
you,
the
Senator.
facilitation of illegal immigration, Margaret, by
Thank
our
you,
own.
Senator.
Bro, if I'm Tim-
Oh, no, they muted. Oh, no, they didn't.
We have so
Kamala
much
Harris
to get
opened up
to,
that
Senator.
pathway.
Those
We have
laws
so
have been on
much.
the books since 1990.
Thank you, gentlemen.
The
We want to
CBP
have.
One app has not been on the books since 1990. It's something that Kamala Harris-
He's so loud you can hear him through their
Gentlemen,
lapels.
The audience can't hear you because your mics are cut. We have so much we want to get to. Thank you for explaining. the
You
legal
didn't let
process.
him respond.
Thank you,
Oh
Margaret.
my God.
The economy
this is-
a top
this is
concern for
ridiculous.
voters. Each of your campaigns has
They did the
released an
same shit to
economic plan,
fucking
so let's talk
Harris,
about
bro.
the
This is
specifics.
fucking
Governor
ridiculous,
Walz,
man.
Vice President Harris unveiled a plan that includes billions in tax
And now I look
credits
like
for
a fucking
manufacturing, housing, and a renewed
Crybaby.
tax credit.
Libtard
The Wharton
crybaby,
School
dude.
says
Shit.
your proposals will increase the nation's deficit by $1.2
Meanwhile, this dude's like, oh, the
How would
Haitians
you
tried to
pay for
serve me
that without
fucking
ballooning
deep fried
the
dog.
deficit? Governor, I'll give you 2 minutes.
Yeah, thank
Did you see
And
what's his
Kamala
that
Harris and
one?
I do believe in
I
the
forget who
middle
they
class
are,
because
but they
that's where
did
we
like a
come from.
prank.
We both grew up in that.
They
We
did like a
understand.
food
Yeah.
truck.
Those of you out there listening tonight,
I forget what
you're
channel it is.
back and forth, and it's good. It's healthy. That's what this is supposed to happen. You should be listening. How's this going to impact me? The bold forward plan that Kamala Harris put out there is talking about this housing issue. The one thing is there's 3 million new houses proposed under this plan with down payment assistance.
Bro,
on the
we
front
got to
end
do
get
more
you a
than
house.
that.
A
We need to
house is
zone
much
for
more
multifamily
than just
fucking
an asset
homes,
to be
bro.
traded somewhere.
We got to
It's
stop with this
foundational to
fucking
where
not
you're
my
at.
backyard
And then making
bullshit,
sure
dude.
that the
Not
things you
some
buy
fucking
every day,
single
whether
family
they be
shit.
prescription drugs or other things, that there's fairness in that. Look, the $35 insulin is a good thing, but it costs $5 to make insulin. They were charging $800 before this law went into effect. As far as the housing goes, I've seen it in Minnesota. 12% more houses in Minneapolis. Prices went down on rent 4%. It's working.
Hell
And
yeah.
then making sure tax cuts go to the middle class. $6,000
4%,
child
though,
tax
dude. We
credit
need to
have
have
one in
a
Minnesota,
number higher.
reduces
I
childhood
mean,
poverty by a
12% is
third.
pretty
We
high
save
when the
money in
cost
the
is
long run,
fucking
and we do the right
like
thing for families.
skyrocketing.
And then getting businesses off the ground. The law as it stands right now is $5,000 tax credit for small business, increasing that to $50,000. Now, this is a philosophical difference between us. Donald Trump made a promise, and I'll give you this. He kept it. He took folks to Mar-a-Lago. He said, you're rich as hell, I'm going to give you a tax cut. He gave the tax cuts that predominantly went to the top class. What happened there was an $8 trillion increase in the national debt, the largest ever. Now he's proposing a 20% consumption or sales tax on everything we bring in. Everyone agrees, including businesses, it would be destabilizing it, it would increase inflation and potentially lead to a recession. Look, this is simple for you.
Maybe
Where are
we should
going?
recess
Kamala
so I could
Harris
save
has said
some
to
money
do
and
the
buy
things she
some more
wants to
houses,
do,
huh?
We'll just ask the
think about
workers to
that,
pay
Tim?
their fair share. When you do that, our system works best. More people are participating
that's all my
in it,
coworkers
and
for real,
folks
for real,
have the
dude.
things that they need.
Oh no, I know
Senator, I wanna give you
motherfuckers
a
are
moment to
thinking that
respond
right
on
now.
but similarly,
He's
the
praying
Wharton
for
School has
one.
done an analysis of the
Not
Trump
understanding
plan
that y'all are going to
and
end up
says
not
it would
having as many
increase the
contracts
nation's
and then
deficit
he's going to get
by
cut.
$5.8
Like,
trillion.
no, my
question
houses.
is the same for you. How do you pay for all that without ballooning the deficit? I'll give you 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, you're going to hear a lot
First
from
of all,
Tim
the
Walz this
Haitians are
evening, and you
still
just heard it in the
eating
answer.
dogs.
A lot of what Kamala Harris proposes to do, and some of it, I'll be
Gatos
honest
y
with you,
perros,
it
I
even
heard.
sounds pretty good. Here's what you won't hear, is that Kamala Harris has already done it, because she's
I'll
been
never
the
tire
vice
for
president
people
for
acting
3.5
like being in
years. She
office
had
as the vice
opportunity
president is
to
any
enact all of these
semblance
great
of lawmaking
policies,
power.
and what
Bro,
she's actually
these
done
You've been in
is
office for
motherfuckers
3 years, and it's like
drive
doing
the cost
what?
of food higher by 25%.
It's
Vice
like
president.
they don't understand. They don't understand that vice president is literally there just in case the other guy gets shot in the fucking face.
It's an insurance policy.
Yeah.
They have no functions.
The only function is to be a tie-breaking vote in the Senate or whatever the fuck.
Senate.
Yeah.
That's it.
Like, come on, the fucking Senate.
And the fact that she isn't.
Granted, she has broken like a dick ton of ties or whatever it is, but still, it's like she can only do so much. She can't sign a fucking executive order as far as I'm
A lot
aware.
of those same economists attack
No.
Donald Trump's plans, and they have
She's the
PhDs,
vice
but they don't
president.
have
Yeah,
You
she's
don't know
the,
that, dude.
she's the
and they don't have
vice.
wisdom.
She's the
Because
assistant
Donald
to the
Trump's
executive
economic policies
manager.
to deliver
Look,
the
bring Joe out
highest
here. We'll have him explain it.
take-home pay in a
Yeah, okay,
generation in this
he'll
country,
fucking stumble through it.
1.5% inflation. And
Listen here,
to
Jack.
boot, peace and
Blame it on
security
illegal
all over the
immigrants
world. So
raping
when
women
people
or
say
some
that
shit.
Donald Trump's economic
Push-up
plan
contest
doesn't
right
make
now.
sense. I say, look at the record. He delivered rising take-home pay for
Nah,
American
dude,
workers.
J.D. Vance
Now,
was
Tim
fucking vice.
admirably
He would've
admits
got his shit
that they
done.
want to undo
Yeah.
the Trump tax cuts. But if you look at what was so different about Donald
It is
Trump's
so
tax
funny
cuts,
though
even
that
from
Tim is like
previous
taking
Republican
notes
tax cut
and
plans,
he's like
is that
being
a lot of
studious
those
and shit.
resources went to
And this
giving more
other
take-home
fuck is
pay
just
to middle
yapping
class
about
and
nothing.
working class Americans. It was passed in 2017, and you saw an American economic boom unlike we've seen in a generation in this country. That is a record that I'm proud to run on, and we're going to get back to that common sense wisdom.
He's saying the
so that you
economic
can
boom in
afford to live
2017 was
the American
bigger than
dream
the
again. I know a lot of you are
post-recession
struggling. I know a
economic
lot of you
boom
are
of
worried about
Obama?
paying the bills. It's going to stop when Donald
Potent.
Trump brings
That's
back
a
common sense to
wild
this
fucking
country.
Let's
take,
check
bro.
that
Do you want
out.
to respond
That
to
is
that? What has
wild.
Kamala Harris done for the middle
Yeah,
class?
well, Kamala Harris's day one was Donald Trump's failure on COVID that led to the collapse of our economy. We were already
Get 'em.
before COVID in a manufacturing recession, but 10 million people out of work, largest percentage since the Great Depression. 9 million jobs closed on that. That was day one. Whether it was the Infrastructure Act or other things we moved. Now, you made a question about experts, said this. I've made a note of this. Economists can't be trusted. Science can't be trusted. National security folks can't be trusted. Look, if you're going to be president, you don't have all the answers. Donald Trump believes he does. My pro tip of the day is this. If you need heart surgery, listen to the people at the Mayo Clinic.
That would kill me. My
Minnesota,
pro tip of the day.
Trump. And the same thing goes with this. And I ask
Here's
you,
what's up, gamer
there,
bros.
teachers,
Yeah.
nurses, truck drivers, or whatever. How
He
is
is
it
such a
fair
dad.
that
He
you're
gives
paying
off
your
dad
taxes
energy
every
like,
year,
whoa,
and
dude.
Donald Trump hasn't paid
I wanna
any
hug him.
federal tax in the last 15 years. In the last year as
Shit,
president.
I want him to hug
That's
me and
what's
tell me
wrong
that
with the
I'm doing a
system.
good job,
There's a
dude.
way
Shit.
around it, and he's bragged about that. We're just asking for fairness in it, and that's all you want.
You have a minute.
Governor, you say trust the
You
experts.
have a minute.
But those same experts for 40 years said that if we shipped our manufacturing base off to China, we'd get cheaper goods. They lied about that. They said if we shipped our industrial
that's a
base
fact,
off to other
but
countries,
okay.
to Mexico and elsewhere, it would make the middle class stronger. They were wrong about that. They were wrong about the idea that if we made America
What
less
economist has
self-reliant,
ever said
less
if we move jobs out of
self-productive in our own
America,
nation,
it'll
it
make
would
the
somehow
middle
make us
class
better off?
stronger?
And they were wrong about it.
I
And
get
for
a
the
source?
first time in a generation,
Yeah, right,
Donald
'cause
Trump had
if there's no
wisdom
source, I'm
and the
trusting.
courage to say
Yeah, that
to
is some scrunk
bipartisan
shit.
consensus, we're not doing it anymore. We're bringing American manufacturing back. We're unleashing American energy. We're going to make more of our own
Unleashed.
stuff. And this isn't just an economic issue. I mean, I've got 3 beautiful little kids at home, 7, 4, and 2, and I love them very much, and I hope they're in bed right now.
Damn, their names are 7,
Look,
4, and
so
2.
many
That's
of the
weird.
drugs, the pharmaceuticals that we put in the bodies of our children are manufactured by nations that hate us. This has to stop, and we're
Whoa,
not going
okay,
to stop it by
buddy.
listening to
Oh.
experts. We're going to stop it by listening to common sense wisdom, which is what Donald Trump governed on.
Senator, your time is up. Governor Walz, can you address that? I mean, voters say they trust Donald
trying,
Trump
bitch,
on
shut
the
up.
economy more. Why?
If you're listening tonight and you want billionaires to get tax cuts, you heard what the numbers were. Look, I'm a union guy on this. I'm not a guy who wanted to ship things overseas, but I understand that, look, we produce soybeans and corn. We need to have fair trading partners.
He's
That's something that we
union.
believe in. I think the thing that most concerns me on this is Donald Trump was the guy who created the largest trade deficit in American history with China. So the rhetoric is good.
China.
Much of what the senator said right there, I'm in agreement with him on this. I
Get
watched
it.
it happen too. I watched it to my communities, and we talked about that. But we had
I'm curious
people
what
undercutting the
people
right
who
to
are
collectively
against
bargain.
him
We
think
had right
about
to work
him
states made it more
agreeing
difficult.
with
We
the
had companies that
Republican
were willing
on
to
it,
ship
though.
over, and we saw
Like, do you
people
think
profit.
like
Folks that-
voters who are
folks
in
that
between are like, oh
venture
shit,
capital
like,
in some cases, putting money.
damn,
into
maybe this is
companies
a
that
good
were overseas.
Democrat.
We're in
Yeah, tight
agreement that
dog.
we bring those
Yeah.
home. The issue is Donald Trump is talking.
He's a
about it.
secret
Kamala
Republican.
Harris has a record: 250,000 more manufacturing jobs just out of
I
the
can
IRA.
see that.
May I respond to that?
Yes.
So
May I
appreciate
respond to that,
If you
please?
notice what Governor Walz just did is he said, first of all, Donald Trump has to listen to the experts. And then when
Well,
he acknowledged
can
the
you?
experts screwed up, he said, well, Donald Trump didn't do nearly as good of a job as the statistics
that's a
show
gross
that he
generalization.
did. So what Tim Walz is doing, and I honestly, Tim, I think you got a tough job here because you've got to play whack-a-mole. You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver rising take-home pay, which of course he did. You've got to pretend that Donald Trump didn't deliver lower inflation, which of course he did. And then you've simultaneously got to defend Kamala Harris's atrocious economic record, which has made gas, groceries, and housing unaffordable for
How?
American
What did
citizens.
she do
I was raised
that
by a
made those
woman
things
who would
unaffordable?
sometimes go into medical debt
Where the
so
fuck
that
is
she
her
could put
button
food
on her
the
desk
table
that
and
said,
have a
switch.
family? I know what
yes,
it's like
let's raise
to
the
not
gas
be able to
prices.
afford the things that you
You
need
dumb
to afford.
fuck.
We can do so
Fucking
much better.
idiot,
To
bro.
all of you watching, we can
Oh, I'm
get
so
back to
fucking
an
mad.
America that's affordable again. We just
I'd be
gotta
up
get
there
back to
saying some
common sense
fucking
economic
rude shit to a
principles.
boy
Have
right
a
now.
Conversation on healthcare there.
Spitting on him,
Senator,
dude.
Governor.
Please.
Yeah,
Thank
spitting
you,
at him
Margaret.
fucking crazy.
We have
Are
a
you
lot
kidding
to
me?
get to ahead, gentlemen. on
I'd be
many
yelling,
topics, but
letting her
right
know
now
her
I wanna
fucking
talk
suit
about
jacket is
personal
ugly.
qualifications.
I'd be rude.
The vice president is often
They'd be
the
muting me.
last voice the president hears before making consequential decisions.
Is it?
We want to ask you about your leadership qualities. Governor Walz, you said you were in Hong Kong during the
Who might
deadly
have his
Tiananmen
questions, dude?
Square protests in the city
Yeah, I don't know.
1989. But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are reporting that you actually didn't travel to Asia until August of that year.
What the fuck are we
Can
even
you
talking about right
explain
now?
that discrepancy?
Semantics.
Well, and to the folks out there who didn't get at the top of this, look, I grew up in small rural Nebraska, town of 400, town that you rode your bike with your buddies till the streetlights come on, and I'm proud of that service. I joined the National Guard at 17, worked on family farms, and then I used the GI Bill to become a teacher, passionate about it, a young teacher. My first year out, I got the opportunity in the summer of '89 to travel to China. 35 years ago, be able to do that. I came back home and then started a program to take young people there. We would take basketball teams, we would take baseball teams, we would take dancers, and we would go back and forth to China. The issue for that was to try and learn.
Did you yapping, dude?
My community
He's
kind of
yapping right now.
They saw where I was at. Look, I will be the first to
So you
tell
gonna
you,
answer the
I
question,
have poured
though?
my heart into my community.
I don't even really know what the
I've tried to do
question
best I
was.
can, but I've not been perfect.
Something about
And I'm
visiting
not-
Asia?
Time
But
discrepancy.
it's always been about that. Those same people elected me to Congress.
Say I
for
lied,
12
bro.
Years. And in Congress,
I-
was
my
elected by
grand-
bipartisan
My
people.
grandchildren bought me a
Things like
fucking
farm bills that we
VR
got done,
headset. That's why I
working on
visited
veterans
China, all right?
benefits. And then the people of
And
Minnesota
fucking get over
were
it,
able to
dude. What a
elect me to governor
stupid thing to
twice.
fucking ding my
look,
man on right now.
My commitment has been from the beginning to make sure that I'm there for the people, to make sure that I get this right. I will say more than anything. Many times I will talk a lot. I will get caught up in the rhetoric.
That's
but
you right now,
being
baby.
there, the impact it
You are
made,
caught the
difference
fuck
it
up,
made in
brother,
my life.
man.
I learned a lot about China. I hear the critiques
China.
of this. I would make the case that Donald Trump should have come on one of those trips with us. I guarantee you he wouldn't be praising Xi Jinping about COVID, and I guarantee
And I would have
you
beat
he
his
would start
ass.
a trade war that he ends up losing.
Yeah, a little
this is
fucking
about
people's
trying to
elbowed his ass.
understand the world. It's about trying to do the best you can for your community.
Damn, are they
And
gonna
then
do
it's putting
commercials
yourself
during
out
this?
there and letting your folks understand what it is. My commitment, whether it be through teaching, which I
Let's
was
see
good
that
at,
lunch
or
leaf
whether it was
fucking
being a good
commercial, dude.
soldier Or was being a good member of Congress. Those are the things that I think are the values that people care about.
Governor,
Did
just
not
to
answer the
follow
question.
up on
He
that,
did it.
The question was, can you explain the
No, just
discrepancy?
all I said on this was I got there that summer and misspoke on this. So I will just, that's what I've said.
Bro, I'm fucking 60, man. What the fuck
So
do you
I
want
was
from
in
me?
Hong
35
Kong
years
and
ago.
China during the democracy protests went in. And from that, I learned a lot of what needed to be in
Bro,
governance.
just stop talking.
Yeah, he's
Thank you, Governor. Senator Vance, in 2016, you called your running mate Donald Trump unfit for the nation's highest office. And
Oh.
you said he could be America's
Now,
This
president.
is something to
And you
ding a
said- you've been asked
motherfucker
many
on,
times,
dog.
and you said you regret those comments and explained you then voted for Donald Trump in 2020. But the Washington Post reported new messages last week in which you also disparaged Trump's economic record while he was president.
That's who you
Writing to someone in
support,
2020,
people who dodge
quote,
simple questions.
"Trump
Ethan,
thoroughly
I'm gonna tell you
failed to
right now,
deliver his
if
economic
you're gonna come in here
populism."
and be a fucking fool,
You're
make
now
sure
his
you
running
like,
mate,
comment, and
and you've
subscribe so I
shifted
can
many
tell
of
your
your
dumb
policy
fuck
stances to
ass
align
that you're a
with
dumb
his.
fuck as much
If
as
you
I can,
become
baby.
vice
You're right,
president,
I'm voting for
why
the
should
motherfucker who
Americans
can't
trust
answer
that
a
you
simple
will give
question.
Donald Trump the
Let's
advice
go.
he needs to hear, and not just the advice.
mind you, it's a
he
question
wants
doesn't
to
matter
hear.
because it's
You
about
have 2
a
minutes.
time
Well, first of
time
all, Mark, 'cause I've
semantics.
always been
Yeah.
open. And sometimes, of course, I've
30
disagreed
years
with the
ago.
president, but I've also been extremely open about the fact that I was wrong about Donald Trump. I was wrong, first of all, because I believe
Who do I want to
some
vote for?
of
A
the
guy
media stories that
who
turned out to
couldn't
be
answer a
dishonest
question about
fabrications
a
of his
time
record.
discrepancy,
But
or
most
some
importantly,
fucking
Donald Trump
spineless
delivered to the
bitch
American
ass
people
toe sucker?
Rising wages, rising take
I'll take the
home
first
pay,
guy.
Glazer, dude.
an economy
A
that worked
straight
for normal
glazer.
Americans, a secure southern border.
That's
a
why
lot
he's
of
got the
things,
white on
frankly,
the
that I didn't think
sides,
he'd be able
dude.
to
It's all
deliver on.
glazed.
And yeah, when you screw
Hey.
up, when you misspeak, when you get something wrong and you change your mind, you ought to be honest with the American people about it. It's one of the reasons, Margaret, why I've done so many interviews is because I think it's important to actually explain to the American people where I come down on the issues and what changed. Now, you pointed out the messages from 2020. Margaret, I've been
Shut
extremely
up.
consistent that I think there were a lot of things that we could have done better in the
In this
Trump
random
Today,
fucking-
Junior.
if Congress was doing its job. I strongly believe, and I've been a United States Senator, that Congress is not just a high-class
Whoa,
debating
what chat was
society.
that
It's
on,
not
Joe?
just a forum
It's in the
for
vertical
senators
chat.
and congressmen to whine
You ain't
about
there no more,
problems. It's a
bitch
forum
ass.
to govern. So there were a lot of things on the border, on tariffs, for example, where I think that we could have done so much more if the Republican Congress and the Democrats in Congress had been a little bit better about how they govern the country. They were so obsessed with impeaching Donald Trump, they couldn't actually govern. And I want to talk about this tariff issue in particular.
Bro, what are you talking
Margaret,
about? All
because,
right.
you know,
I'm
Tim
sure.
just accused this of being a national sales tax. Look, the one thing, and you're probably surprised to hear me praising Joe Biden, but the one thing that Joe
Ooh.
Biden did is he continued some of the Trump tariffs that protected American manufacturing jobs. And it's the
That's
one
what you're
issue
glazing
the
them on
most
right now is
pro-worker part of
tariffs?
The Biden administration.
That's
It's
a little
the
whack.
one issue where Kamala Harris has run away from Joe Biden's
I love that
record.
people think that
Think
tariffs
about
do
this. If
something
you're
as
trying to
well.
employ
They're like,
slave
no,
laborers in
China
at
will pay
$3
for
a
these
day,
tariffs.
you're
Oh, you
going
sure
to
about
do
that?
and
You sure they're not
undercut
just
the
going to
wages
make
of
me pay
American
for those
workers
fucking tariffs, dude?
Unless our country
Idiot.
stands up for itself and says you're not accessing
Yeah, it's the
our
Roe v.
markets
Wade
unless you're
question.
paying
Yeah.
middle-class Americans a fair wage.
Senator, your time is up. Nora?
Thank you. Now to the issue of reproductive rights.
Let's go.
After Roe versus Wade was overturned, you signed a bill into law that made Minnesota one of the least restrictive
very clear who
states
lacks the
in the nation
competence.
when it comes to
And
abortion.
how exactly
Former
does Tim
President
Walz
Trump
lack
said in
the
last
competence?
debate
I would
that
love for you to
believe
tell me that.
abortion, quote, in the 9th
If you
month
got the
is
nuts.
absolutely fine. Yes or no? Is that what you support? I'll give you 2 minutes.
That's not what the bill says, but look, this
look.
issue is what's on everyone's mind. Donald Trump put this all into motion. He brags about how great it was that he put the judges in and overturned Roe versus Wade, 52 years of personal autonomy. And then he tells us, oh, we send it to the states. It's a beautiful thing. Amanda Zaworski would disagree with you on
Let's
it's a
say
beautiful
that.
thing. A young bride in Texas waiting for their child at 18 weeks. She has a complication, a tear in the membrane. She needs to go in. The medical care at that point needs to be decided by the doctor. And that would have been an abortion. But in Texas,
Bro,
that would have put
Ethan,
them
you're about
in
the
legal
dumbest
jeopardy.
motherfucker,
She
man.
went home.
You're
got
coming in here to
sepsis,
my
nearly
chat telling me
dies,
that
and now
I
she may
lack
have
the
difficulty
competence,
having
brother.
children.
You're
Or
the one
in
watching me
Kentucky,
watch the debate in a
Hadley
vertical
Duvall,
video, my
a
man.
12-year-old child
What are you
raped
talking
and
about? You lack the
impregnated by her
competence.
stepfather. Those are horrific. Now, when God asked about that, Senator Vance said, 2 wrongs don't make a right. There is no right in this. So in Minnesota, what we did was restore Roe versus Wade.
Get
We
it.
made sure that we put women in charge of their health care. But
That's
look,
right, baby.
This is not where, if you don't know Amanda or a Hadley, you soon will. Their Project 2025 is going to have a registry of pregnancies. It's going to make it more difficult, if not impossible, to get
Have you guys seen that
contraception
people have been saying
and
that
limit
2025
access,
is
if
like
not
actually a
eliminate
Democratic thing?
access to infertility treatments.
That's great.
For
Nah.
so many of you out
Yeah,
there
it's
listening,
so
me
fucking
included,
funny.
Finally, someone
infertility
gets it.
treatments are
Yeah.
why I have a child. That's nobody else's business, but those things are being proposed. And the catch-all on this is, well, the states will decide what's right for Texas might not be right for Washington. That's not how this works. This is
It's
basic
really
human
not.
rights.
Thank
we
you.
have seen maternal mortality skyrocket
Women
in
are
Texas,
different in those 2
outpacing
states,
many
dude.
other countries
I
in the
guess.
world. This is about health care. In
Their
Minnesota,
hoo-ha's
we are
built
ranked first in
different.
health care for a reason. We trust women. We trust doctors.
Senator, do you want to
Hell
respond
yeah,
to the
bro.
governor's claim? Will you create a federal pregnancy monitoring agency?
Kind of cringe to say you trust
Certainly
women,
we
dude.
won't.
Dude,
But
I
wanna
trust
talk about
women.
this issue
I
because
grew up in a
know
working-class
it's
family.
about
One
it.
more
I know
time, dude, I'm gonna have a
Americans don't
stroke.
agree, with everything that I've ever said on this topic. And, you know, I grew up in a working class family in a neighborhood where I knew a lot of young women who had unplanned pregnancies
Eric.
and decided to terminate those pregnancies because they feel like they didn't have any other options. And, you know, one of them is actually very dear to me. And I know she's watching tonight, and I love you. And she
Are you
told
gonna
me
call
something
her
a couple
out?
years ago
Say the name?
that she felt like if she hadn't had that abortion, that it would have destroyed her life because she was in an abusive relationship. And I think that what I take from that as a Republican who proudly wants to protect
There's no
innocent
fucking
life
way
in
he's
this
gonna say
country,
what I
who
think he's gonna
proudly wants
say.
to protect the vulnerable, is that my party, we've got to do so much better of a job at earning the American people's trust back on this issue where they frankly just don't trust us. And I think that's one of the things that Donald Trump and I are endeavoring to do. I want us as a Republican Party to be pro-family in the fullest sense of the word. I want us to support
My man
fertility
just
treatments.
said
I want us to make it easier for
someone very
moms
close
to
to
afford
him
to have babies.
got
I
an
want it to make it
abortion
easier for
because
young
she was in an
families
abusive
to afford a home
relationship,
so they
and
can
he
afford a
said,
place
"I
to
really
raise
feel like
that
we should
family."
be
And I think there's
protecting
so
the
much
whole
that we can
family."
do on the
So
public
he
policy
sideways
front
said
just to
she
give
shouldn't have
women
gotten that
more
abortion. She should have
options.
just fucking muscled
Now,
it
of
out.
course, Donald Trump has been very clear that
Dumb
on the
fuck.
abortion policy specifically, that we have a big country and it's diverse. And California has a different viewpoint on this than Georgia. Georgia has a different viewpoint from Arizona.
No.
And the proper way to handle this, as messy as democracy sometimes is to let voters make these decisions, let the individual states make their abortion policy. And I think that's what makes the most sense in a very big,
Why?
a
Why does
very
that make the
diverse,
most
and let's
sense?
be honest, sometimes a very, very messy and divided country.
Governor, would you like to respond and also answer the question about restrictions?
Yeah, well, the question got asked, and Donald Trump made the accusation that wasn't true about Minnesota. Well, let me tell you about this idea that there's diverse states. There's a young woman named Amber Thurman. She happened to be in Georgia, a restrictive state. Because
Yeah,
of that,
full
she
name,
had to
dude.
travel a long distance to North Carolina to try and get her care. Amber Thurman died in that journey back and forth.
Damn.
The fact of the matter is, how can we as a nation say that your life And your rights, as basic as the right to control your own body, is determined on geography. There's a very real chance, had Amber Thurman lived in Minnesota, she would be alive today. That's why the restoration of Roe versus Wade. When you listen to Vice President Harris talk about this subject and you hear me talk about it, you hear us talking exactly the same. Donald Trump is trying to figure out how to get the political right of this. I agree with a lot of what Senator Vance said about what's happening. His running mate, though, does not, and that's the problem.
Governor, your time is up. Senator, let me ask you about that.
I think him calling out that they disagree on it is fucking huge.
You have supported a federal ban on abortion after
he's been doing that a ton.
weeks.
Like,
in fact,
he agrees with Vance, but then he doesn't like that Vance and Trump don't agree.
The most barbaric pro-abortion regime anywhere in the entire world. My question is,
yeah, I mean, I think it goes to show that like that whole White House is going to be a fucking mess. When you have two people who like can't agree on the way that they want to govern, it's going to be a fucking shit show.
For example, we have a partial birth abortion.
Ooh, the NBC News
country at the federal level. I don't think anybody
stream of this is giving you fact checks in the chat.
A very radical pro-abortion stance, but
Nora, that's cool.
You know, one of the things that changed is in the state of Ohio, we had a referendum in 2023, and the people of Ohio voted overwhelmingly, by the way, against my position. And I think that what I learned from that, Nora, is that we've got to do a better job at winning back people's trust. So many young women would love to have families. So many young women also see an unplanned pregnancy as something that's going to
damn, it's just not fucking uploading the gram for some reason.
Relationships. And we've got to earn people's trust back. And that's why
I'm just uploading the post that
pro-family policies, making childcare more accessible, making fertility treatments more accessible, because we've got to do a better job at that, and that's what real leadership is.
We got to do what a baby's got to do.
I'm going to respond on the pro-abortion piece of that. No, we're not. We're pro-women.
No, we're not.
We're pro-freedom to make your own choice.
You're an idiot.
No,
not be that. Women having miscarriages, women not getting the care, physicians feeling like they may be prosecuted for providing that care. And as far as making sure that we're educating our children and giving them options, Minnesota's a state with one of the lowest teen pregnancy rates. We understand that too. We know that the options need to be available, and we make that true. We also make it, we're a top 3 state for the best place to raise children. But these two things, to try and say that we're pro-children, but we don't like this, or you guys are pro-abortion, that's not the case at all. We are pro-freedoms for women to make their choices, and we're going, and Kamala Harris is making the case, to make options for children more affordable, a $6,000 child tax credit, but we're not going to base that on the backs of making someone like Amber Thurman drive 600 miles to try and get health care.
Senator?
Yeah, because that's fucking ridiculous.
I agree with you. Amber Thurman should still be alive, and there are a lot of people who should still be alive.
And so should her unborn child.
And maybe you're free to disagree with me on this and explain this to me, but as I read the Minnesota law that you signed into law, the statute that you signed into law, it says that a doctor who presides over an abortion where the baby survives, the doctor is under no obligation to provide life-saving care to a baby who survives a botched late-term abortion. That is,
bro, what is the fucking likelihood of that? Who the fuck does that?
It's a wild statement.
That word, Nora, is because some of what we've seen, do you want to force Catholic hospitals to perform abortions against their will? Because Kamala Harris has supported suing Catholic nuns to violate their freedom of conscience. We can be a big and diverse country.
Why the fuck are you in healthcare if you're not willing to do healthcare things?
Pro-baby and pro-family, but please.
You must not care about fucking health.
Look, this
if you're worried about a stupid fucking book instead.
These are women's decisions to make about their healthcare decisions, and the physicians who know best when they need to do this. Trying to distort the way a law is written to try and make a point, that's not it at all.
What was I wrong about, Governor? Please tell me, what was I wrong about?
That is not the way the law is written. Look, I've given
this. But how?
I've given this advice on a lot of things, that getting involved, getting engaged, that's been misread, and it was fact-checked at the last debate. But the point on this is there's a continuation of these guys to try and tell women or to get involved. I use this line on this, just mind your own business on this. Things work best when Roe versus Wade was in place.
Mind your own motherfucking business.
That works best. That doesn't preclude us from increasing funding for children. It doesn't increase us from making sure that once that child's born, like in Minnesota, they get meals, they get early childhood education, they get health care. So hiding behind we're going to do all these other things when you're not proposing them in your budget. Kamala Harris is proposing them. She's proposing all those things to make life easier for families.
I asked a specific question, Governor. You gave me a slogan as a response.
It's not the case. It's not true. That's not what
Also,
the
I'm
law
not here to
says.
answer your questions.
I fact-checked it with President Trump.
Gentlemen, there's a lot to discuss. We have to move on, and we're going to be right back with much more of the CBS News vice presidential debate in just a moment.
All right.
So I was curious on because he brought up Catholic. What was it called? Catholic
hospital.
nurses not wanting to do abortions.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, the Pope does say he doesn't want abortions to happen.
Right.
But when it can save the mother's life, he's all for it. It
Really?
creates like a moral it's okay for you to do it because the aim was to save the mom, not to kill the child.
Right. I mean, but that's like it's really funny too because like most Christians are just going to be like, nah, fuck that, just let her die. It's not about her; it's about that baby.
That baby.
Yeah,
also-
but
I also looked up some economic performances by presidential parties. I'm gonna go back to Bill Clinton because Bill Clinton kind of had the best surplus in recent years for presidents. So during Bill Clinton's presidency, we saw a gain of 2.4% of non-farm employment. Under George W. Bush, we saw a gain of 0.13%. Under Barack Obama, we saw a gain of 1.04%. Under Donald J. Trump, we saw a loss of 0.5%. And then under Joe Biden, we saw a gain of 3.3%. So,
dude, it's easy, Joey, dude. It's because of what Donald did. It took years to, finally come to fruition.
There you go.
So
Downstream economics, bro.
Yeah,
obviously, when Joe Biden is in office,
It all
it's
goes
because
back to
Trump's.
Reagan, dude.
it all goes back to Reagan, yeah.
Reagan laid it all down, and then good old fucking Billy C. harvested the crops.
Harvested them craps.
It's because Joe got handed a good economy, dude.
Hey,
Ooh,
you
on
know
a
how it
silver
is.
platter.
We did
Literally
see
the best.
a decrease of unemployment under Bill Clinton by 3.1%. We saw an increase of unemployment under George Bush by 3.6%. We saw a decrease under Obama by 3.1%. We saw an increase under Donald Trump by 1.7%, and then Joe Biden saw a decrease in unemployment by 2.5% from January 2021 to February 2024. So I'm just saying, so far the Republicans kind of shit at economics. If I'm looking at the numbers here,
Trump had a whole goddamn pandemic, dude.
oh yeah, that's what we're blaming it on, is that whole ass pandemic, that plandemic. That's what did it. I mean, maybe you could blame it on that.
It could have been worse, dude. But he got it down to 1%.
I think I would agree with that if we didn't see the other Democratic presidents just kind of fucking blow the other Republican out of the water as well. I think I'm going to follow those trend lines and go ahead and say that Republicans are kind of fucking bad at business. They're bad at helping out the general population of the United States. I don't know. That's just me. But I'm reading the grass. I don't know what I'm talking about. Oh shit! The American Pickers guy died.
Dude,
That's crazy.
what?
Fucking
Dude,
thanks, Biden.
Holy fuck!
That is wild.
The heavier set one, Jack.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
How?
I like that show, dude. I mean, they broke
long
up
time
kinda.
illness.
Damn.
First time caller.
I actually liked that show a lot. I used to watch that a fair amount.
Yeah, me and my dad used to go crazy for that shit.
Shit
This
is
shit was
gonna happen.
fascinating. That was classic. Like, I'm sick at school,
Oh
so
yeah.
I'm home eating some soup.
When it ends,
That one in
Jonas,
Pawn Stars.
it's now back to the debate.
Back to the
Monsters is
debate,
great, too.
fellas. Let's see that thing.
JD Vance, quick, pop a gritty.
If you can, we would like to see
Welcome back
each
to the CBS News.
best
best
gritty.
presidential gritty.
Yeah.
We want to
Best
turn now
gritty.
to America's gun violence epidemic.
Gun
The
violence, baby,
leading
let's hear
cause
it.
Of death for children and teens
This is my one.
in
This is my
America
one issue.
Give me
This
the
is my,
illegals.
this is my main voter issue.
Senator Vance,
Right here,
you
this is it.
oppose most
Gun violence?
legislation
Oh,
that
yeah.
Democrats claim would curb gun violence. You
I don't give a fuck
oppose
about nothing
red
else.
flag gun laws and legislation to ban certain semi-automatic rifles, including AR-15s. So let me ask you, earlier
Why are
this
you
year,
such a
for
square?
the first time, the parents of a school shooter were convicted
Here's my
of
answer. You're a
involuntary
nerd.
manslaughter and sentenced to 10 years in prison. Do you think holding parents responsible
Shit, 10 ain't
to curb
enough, dude.
mass shootings?
Yeah, you
I'll give
ain't
2
lying.
minutes.
Yeah, well, Nora, on that particular case, I don't know the full details, but I certainly trust the local law enforcement and local
Dumbass.
police to make those decisions.
I don't know the
think in some
full
cases, the
details,
answer's
bro.
gonna
What
be
is there
yes,
to
in some
know?
cases, the answer is going to be no, and the details really matter here. Of
Beautiful
course.
little
For example,
kids,
if
these-
a kid steals
these
a gun,
gorgeous children.
that's gonna be different than
Beautiful
if a parent
kids.
hands over
God
a gun, knowing
damn,
that
that's
the
a
kid is
beautiful
potentially
baby.
dangerous. But look, I want to just sort of speak as a father of 3 beautiful little kids, and our oldest is now in
2, 4,
second
and
grade.
7.
And like a lot of
2,
parents,
4, and
we send our
7, my
kids to
favorite
school
kids'
with
names.
Such hope and such joy and such pride at their little faces on the first day of school.
Their
And we
little
know,
faces.
Unfortunately, that a lot of kids are going to experience
That's
this
our
terrible
little-
epidemic
little
of gun
sexy
violence. And
cherubs.
of
Hell
course,
no.
those go out to the families that are affected by
Little
this
beautiful,
terrible
delicious
stuff. And we
cherubs.
do have to do
Little-
better.
I could just eat 'em up with
delicious
a little,
morsels.
Waltz and I
little
actually
piece of
probably
naan
agree
bread.
We need to do better on this. The question
first
is just
baby,
how do we
barbecue, I remember
actually
him.
do it?
Barbecue,
Now,
247
here's
and
something that
barbecue.
really bothers me and worries me about this
God
epidemic
damn.
of violence. The gross majority, close to 90%, and some of the statistics I've seen, of the gun violence in this country is committed with illegally obtained firearms. And while we're on that topic, we know that thanks to Kamala Harris's open
you know,
border,
there
we've
are
seen a
more guns
massive
than 3.5
influx in the
years
number of
ago.
illegal
Yeah.
guns run by the Mexican drug cartels. So that number, the
Hell yeah,
amount of
blamed it
illegal
on the
guns in our country is
cartels,
higher
baby.
today than it was 3.5 years ago. But what do we do about the schools? What do we do to protect our kids? And I think the answer is, and I say this not loving the answer, because I don't want my kids to go to
Uh-oh.
school.
What's he gonna say? This is how it is?
Ooh, that's a weird one.
Or where there are visible signs of security. But I unfortunately think that we have to increase security in our schools. We have to make the doors.
We gotta
locked.
give teachers guns.
We've got to
Gotta Kevlar the kids.
And of
Yeah.
course, we've got to increase school
My new
resource
third grader
officers,
super
because
mecha
the
idea.
that we can
Super
magically
mecha
wave a wand
idea.
and take guns out of the hands of bad guys. It just doesn't fit with recent experience. So we've got to make our schools safer. And I think we've got to have some common sense bipartisan solutions for how to do that.
Governor, you have 2 minutes.
Well, I think all the parents
Well.
watching tonight, this is your biggest nightmare. Look, I got
Come on, dude.
a 17-year-old, and he witnessed a shooting at a community center playing volleyball. Those things don't leave you. As a member of Congress, I sat in my office surrounded by dozens of the
I have a
Sandy Hook
gun. I
victims.
stay strapped.
And they were looking at my 7-year-old picture on the wall. Their 7-year-old were dead. And they were asking us to do something. And look, I'm a hunter. I own firearms. The vice president is. We
I keep that
understand the
thing
Second
on
Amendment
me.
Is there. But
I
our
keep my
first
grip skiddly.
responsibility is to our
I was
kids.
checked before I came in here, but guess what,
In
baby?
Minnesota, we've enacted
Anklet.
enhanced
Anklet.
red flag laws, enhanced background checks. And we can
Can't
start
stop
to get
me.
data. But here's the problem.
How could
If
you?
we
Bang,
really
bang.
want to solve this, we've got to allow research to be even done on gun violence. And this idea that we should just live with it, and here's what I do think, that this is a good start to the conversation. I 100% believe that Senator Vance hates it when these kids, it's abhorrent and it breaks your heart. I agree with that. But that's
Don't
not
fucking
far
help
enough.
this
We
man
know there are
out, bro.
things that work.
Yeah, what
I've
the
spent
hell,
time
Tim?
in Finland and seen some Finnish schools.
Seen some
They don't
Finnish
have
schools.
This happen. Even
I
though they
love
have
the
It was amazing.
Finnish.
There was fish everywhere.
There's
there
so
are
much
reasonable
fish
things that we
everywhere.
can
It smelled
do
like shit.
to
I
make
left
a
the
difference.
country immediately.
That's not infringing on
Hit
your
the tarmac and I said, nah.
Nah, dog.
Some of these weapons
Shot off a
out
couple
there,
consolation
it's just
shots in the air and I was gone.
Kamala Harris,
Left
as
my
an
American
attorney
gun
general,
smoke.
Worked on this issue. She knows that it's there. No one's trying to scaremonger and say we're taking your guns, but I ask all of you out
No
there.
one's trying to scare those.
Do you want your schools hardened to
Nah,
look
they
like
ain't
a
trying to
fort?
scare them.
Is that what we have to go when we know there's countries around the world that their children aren't practicing
True.
these types of drills? They're being kids. We owe it to them to get a fix. These are things that shouldn't be that difficult.
Vance is trying to figure out how the fuck he's going to get around this.
Make a difference.
He's like, damn.
If you're listening tonight,
he brings up a good point.
I forgot about the fucking finish.
First of all, I didn't know that your 17-year-old witness.
The most important demographic.
Okay, Christ have mercy.
I got those swing Finnish voters on lock, boys.
Actually, about Finland, because I do think
those millions of Finnish legally voting.
Differences between our
legally
problem.
All those illegal Finnish and fish costumes.
First of all, we have way higher rates of mental health abuse or mental health. Substance abuse.
We're abusing the mentally ill.
What?
Anxiety.
Wait a minute.
It goes there?
A mental health crisis in this country that I really do think.
Hold on, I want to see where this goes.
I don't think it's the whole reason why we have such a bad gun violence problem, but I do think it's a big piece of it. Another driver of the gun violence epidemic, especially that affecting our kids, it doesn't earn as many headlines.
Mexican cartel.
The gun violence problem
it's
in
true.
a lot of our big cities, and this is why we have to empower law enforcement to arrest the bad guys, put them away, and take gun
Who's the
offenders
bad
off
guys?
the streets. I think there's a whole host of things that we can do here, but I do think at our schools we've got to talk about more security.
Senator, thank you. Governor, you previously opposed an assault weapons ban, but it only later
I do
in
love
your
that thought
political
process,
career
though.
Did you change
Like,
your
hey.
position? Why?
Yeah, I sat in that
Maybe
office
we
with
should
those
just make it a
friends.
fortress.
I've become friends with
Castles
those
are cool,
senators.
no?
I've seen it. Look, the
What if we have
NRA
cathedral schools for monastery battle kid monks? Then what? Would that be tight?
Played Siege.
You know those walls that they use?
That's not where we live today.
Whole school full of fucking castles.
I want to mention on this.
Everyone gets deployable walls, but only 10 to start each school year. You got to use them strategically.
Where the most firearm deaths happen in Minnesota are rural suicides. And we have an epidemic of children
Think of
getting
the inner
guns and
city
shooting
schools, dude.
themselves.
They need more than
And
10.
So we have, and we should look at all of the issues. Making sure folks
too
have
damn
health
bad.
care. This idea of stigmatizing mental health, just because you have a mental health issue doesn't mean you're violent. And I think what we end up doing
Should
is
tell
we
that to
start
me,
looking for
bro.
a scapegoat. Sometimes it just is the guns.
Stop.
It's just the guns.
Sometimes
And
it's
there are things
just
you
the
can do about it.
gun.
But I
What a
do think
fucking
that this is
bar.
one, and I think this is a healthy conversation. I think there's a capacity to find solutions on this that work, protect Second Amendment, protect our children. That's our priority.
Gentlemen, thank you. Margaret?
Thank you, Nora. Let's turn now to the top contributor to inflation, the high cost of housing.
There's not enough
and rent.
sexy dudes at this debate.
There's a shortage of more than 4 million homes in the United States.
I'm trying to ogle
and that
the
contributes
male
to the
fucking
high housing prices.
The baby
Governor
oil
Walz, the
wrestling
campaign
section of the
promises a
debate. I can't come soon enough.
$25,000 down
Severely
payment
lacking,
assistance
dude.
for first-time home buyers and a $10,000 tax credit.
Alex is looking at me
They
crazy.
also promise to build 3 million.
I forgot she was back
He's
here. I'm not
talking
gonna
about
lie.
dudes.
Building these homes, and won't handing out that kind of money just drive up prices higher?
No, it's not handing out. We have, first, let me say this issue of housing, and I think those of you listening on this, the problem we've had is that we've got a lot of folks that see housing as another commodity.
That's
it can be
right.
bought up, it can be shifted, it can be moved around. Those are not
Say
folks
it, bro.
living in those houses. Those of you
Housing
listening tonight,
is a
that house is
fucking
big deal. I
right,
bought
not a
and owned
privilege.
one house in my life. My mom still lives in the house where I was. And when I think of a house, I'm thinking of Christmas services after midnight mass where you go with your family. We need to make it
Midnight
more
Mass,
affordable. And
great
one of the
show.
things, as I said,
Clearly
this
he's a
program
Mike
that the
Flanagan
Vice President
fan.
Is pushing forward and bringing a new way of approaching
Love that
it.
for
Love
him.
Saracen.
Minnesota from that lead. We in the state invested in making sure our housing was the biggest investment that we'd ever made in housing. It starts to make it easier. We cut some of the red tape. Local folks, look. we
Oh,
can't do
shit,
it
he
at the
said
federal
we're not
level,
building the
but local
houses to
folks make it
code.
easier to build those homes. And
We
then
gotta
the down
cut the
payment
red
assistance.
tape.
I can tell all of you out there.
We got to build these.
one
I
of
want to
the-
make 13 houses a
certainly
minute.
For me, using the GI Bill was one thing, but a veteran's home loan, the big thing about a veteran's home loan is you don't have to pay the down payment. Those are things that
Damn.
make it there. Now, look, you're going to pay it back, and you're going to pay your mortgage.
I just did a
Those
quick
are
fact
things that we
check,
know in
dude.
the long run, the appreciated
The
value,
median price of
the
houses in
generational
Minnesota
wealth that's
is
created
generally
from it.
lower than the
And I
national
will give
average.
Minneapolis an example.
I mean, that
Minneapolis
just
is the one
fucking
city where we've
spits
seen the lowest
facts.
inflation
Like,
rates.
dude,
We've seen a
he's got
12%
the
increase
best
in
thing
stock
about it is
because
he
we
has
started
numbers
putting
to
some of these
prove
things
it.
in,
He's like,
and
y'all,
we're implementing a
communism
state
works,
program to
and
make
I
sure
got
we
the
can
I've
fucking
done
numbers
it.
to show it. Yeah.
We get it
Brought my
from
receipts,
Yeah,
my
here's what we
Leninist
know.
receipts.
People with staple
He said,
housing
"Do you know what
and
it's
with
like to
stable
not
jobs,
have a hungry
people with
child in your
stable
state,
housing
bitch? 'Cause
have their
I
kids
do."
able to be able to get to school.
I love, look at all these school lunches, baby.
Look at all these plump kids.
That I think we should
rotund children.
some common ground in.
Once again, coming back to the sexy little cherubs.
Immigrants for the only reason. That's not the case that's happening in many cities. The fact of the matter is that we don't have enough naturally affordable housing, but we can make sure that the government's there.
I like this. Seize federal lands to build homes. We're going to take them.
Governor, your time
I'm
is
all
up.
about it.
Senator Vance, as far as your campaign's position, the promise is
Where is this going to be, in deep Nevada?
Yeah.
Remove regulation, provide tax breaks, and cut back on immigration, which you say pushes up prices. Where are you going to build all the new homes you're promising, and what part of any of this plan will provide immediate relief? You have 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, Tim just said something that I agree with. We don't want to blame immigrants for higher housing prices, but we do want to blame
My man,
Kamala
you did
Harris
blame
for bringing
immigrants,
millions
though.
of illegal aliens into this country, which does
We don't want to blame
drive up
immigrants,
costs, Tim.
and then blames immigrants in the next
25 million
sentence.
illegal aliens competing with Americans for
There,
scarce homes
Andre
is one
meme.
of the most
Why would
significant
immigrants do
drivers
this?
of home prices in the country. It's why we have massive increases in home prices that have happened right alongside.
I love that thought
massive
process is so
increases in
funny
illegal
too, because it's basically
alien
saying that
populations
immigrants are going up to
under
landlords and being like,
Kamala Harris's
"Hey,
leadership.
look,
Now,
man,
Tim just mentioned
I
a
want to
bunch
pay
of
you
ideas.
300% for this house, man, please. Let me do that for you, please."
But the most important thing here is Kamala Harris is not running as
Come on,
a
Chismoso.
newcomer to politics. She is the sitting vice president. If she wants to enact all of these policies to make housing more affordable,
There he
I
goes
invite
again,
her to
dude.
use the office that the American
How?
people already
How,
gave her,
Vance?
not
How
sit
would she
around
do
and
that? Walk
campaign
me
and
through
do
the steps
nothing
that she would have
while
to take in order
Americans
to do
find
that,
the
please.
American dream
She hits her
of
house button,
homeownership
dumb
completely
fuck.
unaffordable. Now, you asked
Her
what
build house
would
quick button.
immediately change
She
the
turns
equation
on
for
no
American
clip and she
citizens.
just fucking flies around the country and builds houses, dude.
Donald Trump says
Copies and
Creative
pastes.
mode.
one of
Yeah.
the biggest drivers of housing costs aside from illegal immigration is, think about it. If a truck driver's paying 40% more for diesel, then the lumber he's delivering to the job site to build the house is also going to become a lot more expensive. If we open up American energy, you will get immediate
Can I
pricing
have it?
relief for American
Pretty cute.
citizens, not, by the way, just in housing, but in a whole
Who
host of other
determines the
economic
price of
issues
the
too.
diesel, Vance?
Senator Vance, you still have
And how?
23 seconds.
The borders
there.
are.
You want to answer
Can I have it?
where? Yeah.
The illegal immigrants, dude.
Yeah.
They say.
Senator, where are you going to seize the federal
Actually,
lands? Can you
today,
clarify?
Well, what Donald Trump is
I
saying,
want it
we
to be
have
a little
lot of federal
higher.
lands that aren't being used for
Please.
anything. They're not being used
Little
for
higher,
national
man.
park. They're not being used.
My
and
kids,
they could be places
they're
where we
diesel, they
build
know
a lot of
run.
housing.
They're
And I
diesel.
don't think that we should be opening up building in this country. We have a lot of land that could be used. We have a lot of Americans that need homes. We should be kicking out illegal immigrants who are competing for those homes, and we should be building more homes for the American citizens who deserve to be here.
Senator, your time is up. Governor, I do want to let you respond to the allegation that the vice president is letting in
Well, of course, that's not
migrants,
true. And again,
that
you
it's
have the
affecting
facts. I
housing
guess we
prices.
agreed not to fact check. I'll check it. That look, crossings are down
He
compared to
said,
when
"I
was
guess
there."
you
But
agreed not to
it's
fact check
again,
this, but I'll do it."
blaming and not trying to find the solution. I was going to ask though.
It's 'cause he doesn't have chat open, dude.
Yeah, that is what it is.
On the same federal land, and I think when people hear federal lands, these are really important pieces of land. Now, Minnesota doesn't have a lot of federal lands. I know in the western part of the countries we do. There's not a lot of federal
Oh, that's
lands
too much read to fact
in and
check.
around Minneapolis, for example. So the issue is I don't understand the federal lands issue unless we see this, and I worry about this as someone who cares deeply about our national parks and our federal lands. Look, Minnesota, we protect these things. We've got about 20% of the
protect
world's
that
fresh
thing.
water. These lands protect. They're there for a reason. They belong to all of us. But again, this is when you view housing and you view these things as commodities. Like there's a chance to make money here. Let's take this federal land and let's sell it to people for that. I think there's better ways to do this. We've seen it in Minnesota. We're able to refurbish some of these houses. We're able to make some investments. That gets people in. And I'm still on the fact on this. Economists, Senator Vance, you said you don't like the economists. Which economists are saying that it is immigrants that's adding to the cost?
Governor,
Oh.
your
Sorry.
time is up. But Senator, on that point,
I
I'd like
apologized.
for you to clarify, there are many contributing
mindful.
factors to
Very
high
demure.
housing costs. What evidence do you have
Very erotic.
that migrants
Very erotic.
are
Very
part
sexy
of
old
this
man.
problem?
Well, there's a federal
Very
reserve study that
grandpappy.
we're happy to share after the debate. We'll put it up on social media, actually, that really drills down on the connection between
Give me a
increased
name,
levels of
motherfucker.
migration, especially illegal
Steven.
immigration and higher housing prices. Of course,
Tommy.
Margaret, that's not the entire
Bobby.
driver of higher housing prices. It's
Mama.
also the regulatory regime
The economy,
of
Mama.
Harris.
But
Look,
come-
we are a country of
It's not doing it, Mama.
The Colonel, Mama.
My Arrakis.
We increasingly
Mopland.
have a federal administration that makes it harder to
Mama,
develop our resources.
23
makes it harder to
illegal
build
Haitians,
things, and wants
Mama.
to throw people in jail for not
The Fremen are just illegal, Mama.
Goddamn
exactly as
Fremen
Kamala
illegals.
Harris says they have.
They're trying to dust jobs.
trying to
or
buy
whatever the fuck it
Graceland,
is.
Mama.
You have a lot of people who would love to build homes who aren't able to build homes. I actually agree with Tim Walz. We should get out of this idea of housing as a commodity. But the thing that has most turned housing into a commodity is giving it away to millions upon millions of people who have no legal right to be here.
That doesn't make
What are the
sense.
federal regulations?
What
I
you
deal with
just
that as a
said
governor.
doesn't make sense.
You can very quickly reply.
I'm sorry.
I don't think he knows what a
I get
commodity
this as
is.
a governor, and I don't necessarily disagree with that. That
Of course
in
I do.
some
It's
cases,
a-
many of those are local.
It's an old wooden
many of them are
ship.
state, which ones are federal. But I think whenever we talk regulations, people think they can get rid of them. I think you want to be able to get out of your house in a fire. I think you want to make sure that it's fireproof and those types of things. So which are the regulations? Because the vice president's not responsible for those. Congress writes those.
Get him, bro.
Governor, thank you,
Get him.
gentlemen. We have a lot to get through. You're passionate about the housing crisis.
I already shut
can
up,
tell.
bro. Damn.
Nora?
Yeah, what the
One
hell?
of the top problems facing Americans is the high cost of
Dude,
health
these
care.
are fucking
Senator
Fox
Vance,
News dudes
at the
in
last
disguise.
presidential debate, former
They're doing
President
some
Trump
white
was
chick
asked
shit.
about replacing the Affordable
Oh, no.
Care Act. In response, he said, "I have concepts of a plan." Since then, Senator, you talked about changing how chronically ill Americans get health insurance. Can you explain how that would work? It's
not exactly the
That
question.
Americans with
Oh, no,
pre-existing
Jack-
conditions
Jack's
won't
pre-watching.
pay
Now I
more?
know it's
I'll give you
bad.
2 minutes.
Well, of course, we're going to cover Americans with pre-existing conditions. In fact, a lot of my family members have gotten health care. I believe, members of my family actually got private health insurance, at least for the first time, switched off of Medicaid onto private insurance for the first time. Under
Why the
Donald
fuck would they
Trump's
do
leadership.
that?
And I think that, a lot of people have criticized this.
Medicaid
concepts of
wasn't
a plan
better?
remark. Look, it's very
Well,
simple
then you would
common
say that
sense.
you
I think
have
it's
a
Tim
plan,
Walz
not
for 12 years in
concepts of a
Congress.
plan.
You're not going to propose a
Can't-
900-page bill standing on a debate stage. It would bore everybody to tears, and it wouldn't actually mean anything because part of this is the give and take of bipartisan negotiation. Now, when Donald Trump was actually president, and again, he has a record to be proud of.
I do love
prescription
that.
drugs fell in 2018 for the
Well, I'm
first
not gonna
time
sit up
in a
here and
very
read
long
my whole
time under
900-page
Kamala Harris's
plan.
leadership. Prescription
It's really
drugs are
good,
up
too.
about 7%.
Trust me.
Under Donald
My
Trump's
girlfriend
entire
has it.
4
She's in
years, they were
Canada.
up about
Canada.
1.5%. He introduced pricing transparency. Think about healthcare. You go into a hospital, you try to buy something, and nobody knows
What the
it
fuck am I
actually costs.
buying
That
in a
price
hospital, bro?
transparency will
What am I
actually give
buying?
American consumers
What am I
a
going to the
little bit
fucking
Commemorative
gift
mug.
shop?
will also
Yeah.
drive down costs.
Sorry, your
But we
Nana
talked about,
died.
the
Came to this thing and all I got was my
reinsurance
Nana has
regulations is what I was
Alzheimer's.
talking about. What Donald Trump has
It's my
said
Nana
is
doesn't
we'll allow
remember me.
states to experiment a little bit on how to cover both the chronically ill.
Yeah, it's a
but
little too real, dude. Come on.
non-chronically ill.
All right,
It's
well,
not
you're
just a
gonna forget
plan.
it anyways,
He
'cause you also have
actually
Alzheimer's, so
implemented some of these
whatever.
regulations
Get your
when
bitch
he
ass out of here,
was
dude.
president
Come
of the
on.
United States, and I think you can make a really good argument that it salvaged
A gorilla good.
Obamacare, which
Yeah,
was
he
doing
did say
exactly
gorilla.
until Donald Trump came along. And I think it's an important point.
I think you make a gorilla good.
Agree with everything that President Trump has ever said or ever done, but when Obamacare was crushing
Obama.
under the weight of its
Talking
own
about, dude, they tried to
regulatory
repeal
burden
it,
and healthcare
but
costs,
John McCain
Donald
saved
Trump
it.
didn't destroy
Yeah.
the program.
true.
Instead, he worked in a bipartisan way to ensure that Americans had access to affordable care. It's not perfect, of course, and there's so much more that we can do, but I think that Donald Trump has earned the right to put in place some better health care policies. He's earned it because he did it successfully the first time.
Governor?
All right, here's where being an old guy gives you some history. I was there at the creation of the ACA.
I was
And
My
there.
man
the reason
rolled
it
up
was
his
so
sleeves for this
important
shit.
is I
Yeah, he
Listen,
did.
young blood, watch this.
healthcare state.
And I'm
home
gonna
of the
put
Mayo
my
Clinic,
foot in your
home of
ass.
Medical Alley.
Let me put you
3M,
along game, dude.
Medtronic. We understand healthcare. It's why we're ranked first on affordability and accessibility and
He
quality
said,
of
"I got the
healthcare."
fucking
And
numbers,
so
bitch.
What I know is under Kamala Harris, more people are covered than they have before. And those of you listening, this is critical to you. Now, Donald Trump all of a sudden wants to go back and remember this. He ran on the first thing he was going to do on day one
Was
to
repeal Obamacare.
repeal Obamacare. On day one, he tried to sign an executive
Get
order
his ass,
to
bro.
repeal the ACA. He signed on to a lawsuit to repeal the ACA, but lost at the Supreme Court. And he would have repealed the ACA had it not been for the courage of John McCain to save that bill.
Damn, he name dropped his ass and everything.
What that means to you is you lose your pre-existing conditions.
He said that loser, that loser, John McCain.
Mr. Hostage, Mr. Wah.
Your kids get kicked out when they're 26.
Mr. Pow Pow.
Kamala Harris negotiated drug prices for the first time with Medicare. We have 10 drugs that will come online, the most common ones that'll be there.
Should come online?
Come online.
Donald Trump said,
Why is he talking about my Saturday nights like that?
Skynet, dude.
Because my kids would have never
Skynet went online 20.
Vance just explained might be worse than a concept.
With the drug
Because
companies.
what he's saying is pre-Obamacare. And I'll make this as
Nanoseconds
simple
later,
as
it
possible.
launched nuclear
I have done this
bombs.
for a long time. What they're saying is, if you're healthy, why should you be paying more? So what they're going to do is let insurance companies pick who they insure, because guess what happens? You pay your premium, it's not much. They figure they're not going to have to pay
It's
out
not
to you.
much.
But those of you
Not
who are
like
lower
this.
gray, got cancer, you're going to get kicked out of it. That's why the system didn't work. Kamala Harris will protect and enhance the ACA.
Governor, thank you. Senator, you have not
They
yet
don't work.
explained how you would protect
But sure, let's
people
go with the current
pre-existing
regulations,
conditions
my
or lay out
man.
that plan.
Well, look, we currently have laws and regulations in place right now that protect people with pre-existing conditions. We want to keep those regulations in place, but we also want to make the health insurance marketplace function a little bit better. Now, what Governor Walz just said is actually not true. A lot of what happened and the reason that Obamacare was crushing under its own weight is that a lot of young and healthy people were leaving the exchanges. Donald Trump actually helped address that problem, and he did so in a way that preserved people's access to coverage who had pre-existing conditions. But again, something that these guys do is they make a lot of claims about if Donald Trump becomes president, all of these terrible consequences are going to ensue. But in reality, Donald Trump was president. Inflation was low, take-home pay was higher, and he saved the very program.
Tried to cancel it. John McCain saved it. We just went over this.
Yeah, I just walked you through it, buddy.
Leadership. He did his
What are you,
job,
fucking
which is
deaf
govern,
and an idiot?
Talking about
and get results, not just complain about problems, but actually solve them.
Governor, did enrollment under the Affordable Care Act go up under the Trump administration?
It's higher now that we've seen it go up. Look, people are using it. The system works. And the question about this of young people, or whatever, that's the individual mandate piece of this. And Republicans fought tooth and nail saying, well, Americans should be free to do this. Well, then what do you think?
The individual mandate's a good idea.
You shrink. I think the idea of making sure the risk pool is broad enough to cover everyone, that's the only way insurance works. When it doesn't, it collapses. You are asking pre-ACA where we get people out. Look, people know that they need to be on health care. People expect it to be there. And when we are able to make it, and we are making it this way, when we incentivize people to be in the market, when we help people who might not be able to afford it get there, and we make sure then when you get sick and old, it's there for you. Because I heard people say, well, I don't want to buy into Medicare or whatever. Good luck buying health care once you get past 70. So look,
Yeah,
the
no
ACA
shit.
works. We can continue to do better. Kamala Harris did that. The way she made everything better was negotiating
Let's talk about that
10
suit,
drugs on
Margaret.
Medicare for the first time in American history.
Thank you. Margaret.
Can I address that?
I apologize. We're out of time. We have a number of subjects to discuss.
Go for it.
Let's talk about families in America.
Let's talk about families. Let's talk about that
There is a
ugly ass suit
child care
jacket, Jack.
crisis in this
Killing
country,
me.
and the United States is one of the very few developed
talk about that
countries
fucking eyesore.
in the world without a national paid
talk about that
leave
not being a
program for
seasonal
new
color.
parents. Governor Walz, you said that if Democrats win both the White House and
Governor
Congress,
Walz.
this is a day one priority for you. How long should employers be required to pay workers while they are home taking care of their newborns? You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, well,
19
that's
weeks.
negotiable, and that's what Congress worked. But here's
19
what
weeks.
the deal is. Americans sitting out there right now, you may work for a big
How
company.
much does Sweden
or
get?
home
That's
in
what I
Minnesota
want.
To some of the largest Fortune 500 companies.
I'll look right now
Kamala
here.
Harris knows
I'll
that
fact check that.
Or in California. Those companies provide paid family medical leave. One is, I think they're moral and they think it's a good thing, but it also keeps their employees healthy. We in Minnesota passed a paid family medical leave. You have a
400
child,
the Swedish parental insurance entitles parents to 480 days of paid parental leave when a child is born or adopted.
Child off to a better start, the family works better.
Wow.
We
Each
stay in
parent,
employers,
should
we
they
get
be
more
2,
consistency.
is entitled to
So Kamala Harris has
240
made
of
it a
those
priority.
days.
We implemented it in Minnesota, and we see growth. That's how you become a pro-business state. But the negotiations on it, and here's the issue.
Sweden's
Those
got it
big
figured
companies
out,
are able
dog.
to offer it. Those of you out there who don't have it, Just
480
imagine what
is
happens if you
crazy.
get cancer or your child gets sick. We
If you
know
were
what
like,
happens.
I'm a man, I'm
You
going to
end up
just go to
staying home.
work, your
In
wife would
some
have
places, that means no
480
paycheck
days, dog.
because you've got no protection on that. This is the case of an economy that Donald Trump has set for the wealthiest amongst us. He's willing to give those tax breaks to the wealthiest.
Oh, he was
He's
going to
willing
say something,
say,
though. He was really gearing up to say something
What
rude
we're
out
saying
there.
is the economy works best when it works for all of us.
It's
And
like
so
when the
paid
Kamala
family
is like,
medical leave
this
program, and I will
former
tell you, go to the families or go to the
president.
businesses and ask them. As far as child
You're gonna say this former motherfucker.
Yeah, this former bitch ass.
side. You can't expect the most important people in our lives
You
to take
fucking
care of
bitch and
children,
queef, dude.
our parents to get paid the least amount of money. And we have to make it easier for folks to be able to get into that business and then to make sure that folks are able to pay for that. We were able to do it in Minnesota, and I'm still telling you this. We were listed as the best state. We're still in crisis on this. A federal program of paid family and medical leave and help with this will enhance our workforce, enhance our families, and make it easier to have the children that you want.
Governor, your time is up. Senator, do you support a national paid leave program? And if so, for how long should employers be mandated to pay their employees?
Well,
while
you know,
they're
I don't
home
think we
taking
should be
care of their
forcing
newborn?
anybody
2
to.
minutes.
I think we should let the states vote on if the kids should be put down.
I think there is a
They
bipartisan
do
solution
yearn
here
for the
because a lot of us
mines.
care about this
So we should have
Look,
them
I
brought to work.
speak from this
To work.
very personally because I'm married to a beautiful woman who is an incredible mother to our 3 beautiful kids, but is also a
2, 4, and
very,
7.
very
2, 4, and
brilliant
7.
corporate litigator, and I'm so proud of her. But being a working mom, even for somebody with all of the advantages of my wife, is extraordinarily difficult.
My wife.
And it's not just difficult from a policy perspective. She actually had
God
access
damn
to
you.
paid family leave because she worked for a bigger company. But the cultural pressure on young families and especially young women, I think makes it really hard for people to choose the family model they want. A lot of young women would like to go back to work immediately. Some would
I
like to
don't
spend
think
a little
any
time
young
home with the
woman
kids.
wants
Some
to
would like
do that
spend
after
longer
giving
at home
birth,
with the
buddy.
kids. We should
I wanna
have
go
a
right
family
back to
care
work.
model that makes choice.
Coochie
What-
bleeding and
what
everything.
heartless shit. It's just like, yeah, you know, I'm ready.
Yeah, you know, fuck this kid, bro.
Take me back, 7-Eleven. I want to work. I want to get to stocking.
This kid's kind of fucking whack.
There's another block grant program that's
Cries and pisses and shits. That's boring.
These programs only
Dude
go
can't
to
even
one
spit
kind
a
of
fucking
childcare
freestyle
model.
out
Let's
here.
say you'd like your church maybe to help you out with childcare. Maybe you live in a rural area.
You
or
want
an
your
urban
church
area,
to
and you'd like
help
to
you?
get
What
together
the
with
fuck?
families in your neighborhood to provide
what if-
childcare in the way
What
that makes
type
the
of
most sense.
backward
You
shit
don't
is
get
that?
access to
Yeah, I don't
any
know,
of
man.
these
It takes a
federal
I want
village,
my
but
tribe elder to.
Yeah.
and how we deliver family care and how we promote child care. Because look, it is unacceptable. And, you know, of course, Tim and I have been on the campaign trail.
He has
a lot
still
the
not
last
answered
7
the
or 8
question,
weeks.
though.
And one of the biggest complaints
Should we
I hear
give
from
people
young families
parental leave,
is
yay
people
or
I
nay?
kind
feel
of
like they
glazed
don't
over,
have
not gonna lie.
options.
So did I.
Like they're choosing between going to work or taking care for their kids. That is an incredible burden to put on American families. We're the only country that does it. I think we could do a heck of a lot better.
Senator, thank you. You have also said, Senator Vance, many things about the American family. The Federal Reserve says parents will spend nearly as much on child care as they do on housing each month. So I want to get your
that sounds
thoughts
about right.
on this.
That sounds like the type of brain dead, out of touch take that Donald Trump would have.
As much as childcare is
Oh,
talked
no.
about as being expensive, it's relatively speaking not very expensive compared to the kinds of numbers we'll be taking in. Is President Trump committed to the $5,000 per child tax credit that you have described? You have 1 minute.
Well, what President Trump said, Margaret, I just want to defend my running mate here a little bit, is that we're going to be taking in a lot of money by penalizing companies for shipping jobs overseas and penalizing countries who employ skilled laborers and ship their products back into our country.
We're going to peen these guys.
Of American workers. It's the heart of the Donald Trump economic plan. Cut taxes for American workers and American families. Cut taxes for businesses that are hiring and building companies in the United States of America, but penalize companies and countries that are shipping jobs overseas. That's the heart of the economic proposal. And I think what President Trump is saying is that when we bring in this additional revenue with higher economic growth, we're going to be able to provide paid family leave, child care options that are viable and workable for a lot of American families.
Can you clarify how that will solve the child care shortage?
She said,
like, so
fucking
that
what?
mean?
Exactly. We just don't have enough resources going into the
Bruh,
multiple people who could be providing family care options. And we're going to have to, unfortunately, we're going to have to spend more money. We're going to have to
Is my
induce
suit
more
too
people
pink?
to want to provide child care options for American families, because the reason it's so
truthfully.
expensive
Is
right
it
now
distracting
because
you?
you've
Is
got
that why you
way
can't
too
answer my
few people
fucking
providing this
question?
very essential service.
Thank you,
Answer
Senator.
truthfully.
Governor
Is it
Walz,
distracting you? Is
your
that why you can't?
ticket also has some child care tax credit proposals. Do you think Congress will agree to the $6,000 credit for newborns and $3,000 credit for children
I
over
think
the
some
age
of
6,
Congress will
as
agree
your
to it.
campaign has promised? Is
Half.
that realistic?
Well, if these members of Congress are listening to anybody, I can tell you, and this is the biggest issue. Everybody listening tonight knows. I mean, I'm sure they were shocked to hear it's not very
Buddy.
expensive. And let's be clear, whether it's 5,000 or 6,000, that pays you about 3 or 4 months. Let's be clear of where we're at on this. It's because we got out of an imbalance on this. We thought we were going to get by not paying people. I don't
Shoot,
think
my
Senator Vance or
Pokemon
and I are that
fucking
far apart. I'm
addiction,
not
dude.
opposed
That's
to what he's
1
talking
month,
about.
buddy.
Yeah, you ain't lying.
We've done scholarships types of things. I think we need to be open to making the case. But the issue here is, the question you asked is, you're not going to pay for it with these tariffs. That's just adding another $4,000 on the family and taking less. So not only do they not get the money to pay for
they
that,
not?
they're $4,000 in the hole. That's Wharton School. That's his alma mater. And so I think the issue here is, if those members of Congress, I can't believe they're not. When I go to businesses, sure, they'll talk about taxes sometime, but they will lead with childcare and they will lead with housing, because we know the problem is, especially in a state like Minnesota, we need more workers because our economy's growing, but we need the workforce.
Governor, thank you. We need to move on. Nora?
Let's talk about the state of democracy, the top issue for Americans after the economy and inflation. After the 2020 election, President Trump's campaign and others filed 62 lawsuits contesting the results.
Others.
Judges, including those appointed by President Trump and other Republican presidents, looked at the evidence and said there was no widespread fraud. The governors of every state in the nation, Republicans and Democrats, certified the 2020 election results and sent a legal slate of electors to Congress for January 6th. Senator Vance, you have said you would not have certified the last presidential election and would have
Why
asked the
are you
states
the
to
dumbest
select
fuck?
alternative electors.
Yeah, he did.
That has been called unconstitutional and illegal. Would you again seek to challenge this year's election results, even if every governor certifies the results? I'll give you 2 minutes.
Well, Nora, first of all, I think that we're focused on the future. We need to figure out how to solve the inflation crisis caused by Kamala Harris's policies.
What did he just say?
He just ignored it.
And that's what we're focused on.
He said, I know you asked me about the crazy thing that I just said, but inflation, baby.
There were problems in 2020, and my own belief is that we should fight about those issues, debate those issues peacefully in the public square, and that's all I've said, and that's all that.
Bro, if I see you in the public square, I'm throwing a fucking rock at your dumb fucking head, man.
Overhand style.
Yeah, overhand. I'm straight fucking Shohei Ohtani pitching that shit.
Tear my ACL.
No curveball, no knuckleball, nothing but fucking gas.
Nothing but gas.
We actually do have a
Put some mustard on it.
All right, Cedric.
This shit is illegal in 43 states.
And Tim Walz want to talk about. It is the threat.
Coach didn't even want to scout me.
It's Americans casting aside lifelong friendships.
I could go to jail for doing this right now.
It's big technology companies silencing their fellow citizens, and it's Kamala Harris saying that rather than debate and persuade her fellow Americans, she'd like to censor people who engage in misinformation. I think that is
Hey, dickwad, that has nothing to do with what you said about how you would have illegally not certified the presidency, dude.
Now, I'm really proud.
So can we go back to the question? Now, my suit is pink, but I need you to answer this question.
To have the endorsement of Bobby Kennedy Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard, lifelong.
Who gives a fuck about those turncoat ass bitches, dude? Fuck them.
Every issue, we don't have to agree on every issue, but we're united behind a basic American First Amendment principle that we ought to debate our differences. We ought to argue about them. We ought to try to persuade our fellow Americans. Kamala Harris is engaged in censorship at an industrial scale. She did it during COVID. She's done it over a number of other issues, and that to me is a much bigger threat to democracy than what Donald Trump said when he said that protesters should peacefully protest on January the 6th.
Governor?
Well, I've enjoyed tonight's debate, and I think there was a lot of commonality here. And I'm sympathetic to misspeaking on things, and I think I might have with the senator. But
me too, man.
There's one.
Me too, man.
This one is
Shut up.
to me, and I say that because I think we need to tell the
Fucking
story.
bitch.
Donald Trump
shucks,
refused
dude.
to acknowledge this, and the fact is that I don't think we can be. The
Let's
frog
go
in
get
the
some
pot,
beers
let the
after
boiling
this,
water go
brother.
on. He was very clear. I mean, he lost this election, and he said he didn't.
Didn't.
140 police officers were beaten at the Capitol that day, some with the American flag, several later died. And it wasn't just in there. In Minnesota, a group gathered on the state capitol grounds in St. Paul and said, we're marching to the governor's residence and there may be casualties. The only person there was my son and his dog, who was rushed out crying by state police. That issue, and Mike Pence standing there as they were chanting, hang Mike Pence. Mike Pence made the right decision. So, Senator, it was adjudicated over and over and over. I worked with kids long enough to know, and I said as a football coach, sometimes you really want to win, but the democracy is bigger than winning an election. You shake hands, and then you try and do everything you can to help the other side win. That's what was at stake here. Now, the thing I'm most concerned about is the idea that imprisoning your political opponents.
Oh, he's
laying
rambling.
the groundwork for people not accepting
Shit, he's
this.
losing me at
And
this
a
point.
president's words matter. A president's words matter. People hear that.
I'm back.
So I think this issue of settling our differences at the ballot box, shaking hands when we lose, being honest about it. but
Damn, the
to deny
cameraman's even like
Yeah, what the hell?
crying and
January
shit.
6th, the first time in American history that a president or anyone tried to overturn a fair election and the peaceful transfer of power. And here we are 4 years later in the same boat. I will tell you this, that when this is over, we need to shake hands this election, and the winner needs to be the winner. This has got to stop. It's tearing our country apart.
You're tearing me apart,
Senator Vance, did you want to
Lisa.
respond to that?
Yeah, well, look, Tim, first of all, it's really rash for Democratic leaders to say that Donald Trump is a unique threat to democracy when he peacefully gave over power on January the 20th, as we have done for 250 years in this country. We are going to shake hands after this debate and after this election. And of course, I hope that we win, and I think we're going to win. But if Tim Walz is the next vice president, he'll have my prayers, he'll have my best wishes, and he'll have my help whenever he wants it. But we have to remember that for years in this country, Democrats protested the results of elections. Hillary Clinton in 2016 said that Donald Trump had the election stolen by Putin.
He doesn't know where he's at.
Bought like
Like, huh? What the fuck you talking about?
This has been going on for a long time. And if we want to say that we need to
Motherfucker's
respect the results of
capping
the
right
election, I'm on board.
That he's
But if we want
thinking.
to say,
Yeah.
as Tim Walz is saying, that this is just a problem that Republicans have had, I don't buy that.
Governor.
January 6th was not Facebook ads. And I think a revisionist history.
came out
on this,
hot, bro.
I don't understand how we got to this point. But the issue was that happened. Donald Trump can do it. And all of us say there's no place for this. It has massive repercussions. This idea that there's censorship to stop people from threatening to kill someone, threatening to do something, that's not censorship. Censorship is book banning. We've seen that. We've seen that brought up.
We have
I
seen
just
that brought
think
up.
For everyone tonight, and I'm going to thank Senator Vance. I think this is the conversation they want to hear.
Thank him.
And I think there's a lot of agreement. But this is one that we are miles apart on. This was a threat to our democracy in a way that we had not seen. And it manifested itself because of Donald Trump's inability to say. He is still
Democracy
saying he didn't lose the
manifests.
election. I would just ask that. Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris
hell
censor
no.
Americans from speaking
Dude,
their mind in the wake
that is
of the
crazy.
2020
He's like,
situation?
what the fuck? I asked him the damn question, dude. That was it.
It's a damning non-answer for you to not talk about censorship. Obviously, Donald Trump and I think that there were problems in 2020. We've talked about it. I'm happy to talk about it further. But you guys attack us.
My man, what the fuck
for
is there to
not
talk
believing in
about, dude?
democracy. The most sacred right under the United States democracy is the First Amendment. You yourself have said there's no First Amendment right to misinformation. Kamala Harris wants to use the power of government and big tech to silence people from speaking their minds. That is a threat to democracy that will long outlive this present political moment. I would like Democrats and Republicans to both reject censorship. Let's persuade
Reject
one
me,
another.
Daddy.
Let's argue about ideas, and then let's come together afterwards.
You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. That's the test. That's the Supreme Court
He's
test.
like, who the
Tim,
fuck's talking about that?
Theater, you guys wanted to kick people off of Facebook for saying that toddlers shouldn't
Senator,
wear
the governor
masks.
does
That's
have the
not
floor.
fire in a crowded theater. That is criticizing the policies of the government, which is the right of every American.
Senator, the governor does have the floor for 1 minute to respond to you.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
don't run Facebook. What I do know is I see a candidate out there who refused, and now again, and this I'm pretty shocked by this. He lost the election. This is not a debate. It's not anything anywhere other
It's
than
not a
in
debate. He's right.
Donald Trump's world.
And when
Because
he's right,
look,
he's right.
When Mike Pence made that decision to certify that election, that's why Mike Pence isn't on this stage. What I'm concerned about is, where is the firewall with Donald Trump?
Where's the firewall?
Where is the firewall if he knows he could do anything, including taking an election, and his vice president's not going to stand to it? That's what we're asking you, America. Will you stand up? Will you keep your oath of office?
I'll stand up,
even
Tim.
if the
Me,
president doesn't?
Timmy.
And I think Kamala Harris.
I'm
would
out here,
agree.
gang.
She wouldn't have picked me if she didn't think I would do that. Because of course
I'm doing
that's
my
what we would
part.
do. So
I'm
America,
doing
I
my
think you've
part.
got a really clear choice on this election of who's going to honor that democracy and who's going to honor Donald Trump.
Governor, your time is up. Thank you, gentlemen. We will be right back with both of our candidates. The CBS News vice presidential debate continues.
All right. Look at.
Is this supposed to end at 10:30?
It was supposed to end at 10, I thought. I actually don't know, dude. I don't know.
The little blurb you shared, I thought it said 10:30.
Oh, did it say 10:30?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe.
It sounded like they were going to get back to it, though. Unless it's just closing statements now.
It might just be closing statements at this point. How we feeling, boys?
I definitely like it more than the last debate so far.
Really?
I mean, just because you got two individuals that are actually, speaking game, dude,
Do you mean semi-coherent? Even though fucking
Yeah.
Vance is just yapping about nothing most of the time?
I mean, yeah. He's doing the Donnie way where he doesn't answer the questions like usual.
Yeah.
But hey, Walls didn't answer a question, dude, about that 30-year discrepancy, dude. What
Look. Was it a 30-year discrepancy? That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, he answered it. He was just like, look, I fucked up, all right? My bad, dude. Chill out, all right?
Stop grilling me. Shit.
Yeah, damn.
Gina.
Get off my fucking back, dude.
I'm ass out.
I'm ass out. Jack's being awful quiet. I don't know if he's like, you know what, fuck
He
these
got
guys.
God, dude.
Yeah, he did. There are more. Oh shit. Oh shit. California bans legacy admissions at private colleges and universities. Hell yeah, we love that.
Yeah, I did see that.
Oh shit, someone jumped in. Dodgers for life said Trump 2024. All right, man, you know what? If you want to be a loser, just fucking put I'm a loser 2024 on your shit, dude. It's so much easier.
Tell him, did Donald lose the 2020 election?
You know what he's going to say, dude.
Come on, Dodgers.
Dodgers for Lie 1-3 is going to be like, let's worry about the future. Come on. Kamala.
Bitcoin tumbles back to 60,000 level as tensions in the Middle East tighten. That's a crazy.
That's what they're blaming it on?
I guess. It's a nice photo here.
Yeah, that picture right there. Or the stars and shit.
Yeah, the stars.
That's what I'm choosing to believe, dude. It's nicer that way.
Some people were like, hell yeah.
Blow it up.
I mean, that's kind of messed up, but,
What?
You can't be praising outright fucking people getting blown up.
Yeah, you would think that people would feel that way, yes. It's kind of fucking crazy that they don't, though. They're like, you know what? I kind of fuck with it. Blow those folks over there up, dude. What's the worst that's gonna happen? They said
This
it's
is maize stuff.
not something I gotta deal with. I don't know.
Oh, so tortilla chips.
And yeah, it's a Mexican American company that is being bought. Great, more fucking illegals coming to take my job. Excellent.
Yeah, you go pick strawberries for 6 hours hunched over, dude.
Yeah, right. They're like, you know what? I will. For minimum wage, for less than minimum wage.
Debates. When it ends, join us right
When
here
it
in
ends.
analysis. But now, back to the debate.
Not gonna lie, this soundtrack kind of bops.
Welcome back to the CBS News Vice Presidential Debate. It is now time for the closing statement. Senator Vance won the virtual coin toss and elected to go last.
Of course he
Governor
did.
Walz, you are first. You have 2
Of
minutes.
fucking course.
Thank you, Senator Vance. Thank you to CBS News. And most importantly, thank you to all of you. If
Wait,
you
he said
show up
CBS
and the
News,
folks
dude?
who missed Dancing with
Yeah,
the
it's on
Stars, I
CBS
appreciate it.
News, man. It's been in the
support
stream
of
this whole time,
democracy
man.
matters. It matters that you're here. And I'm
It's just that
I'm looking at
NBC
it.
is streaming
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Kamala Harris has built.
Shit, they
From
gotta
Bernie
get theirs,
Sanders
homie.
to Dick Cheney to Taylor Swift and a whole
Taylor
bunch of folks
Swift.
in between there. And they don't all agree
Damn,
on everything.
Dodgers is
but
making
they
me
are
hate fucking
truly
Tim Waltz now.
Optimistic people. They believe in a positive future of this country and one where our politics can be better than it is. And I have to tell you that that better than it is the sense of optimism that there can be an opportunity economy
What's this dude yapping about?
that works for everyone,
What's
not
he
just to
saying?
get by, but to get ahead. And the idea that freedom really means something. Not the freedom of government
It's
to be
their
in your
closing
bedroom or
remarks.
exam room, but the freedom for you to make choices about yourself. Now, look, we all know who Donald Trump is. He's told us, and as Maya Angelou said, believe him when he told you that. His
Ooh.
first inaugural address talked about American carnage. And then he
Preach.
spent 4 years trying to maybe do that. Senator Vance tonight made it clear he will stand with Donald Trump's agenda. He will continue to push down that road. Excuse me.
Oh no.
Kamala Harris gives us a different option. Now, I'll have to tell you, I'm going to be careful about the quotes, but there's one that Senator Vance said that does resonate with me. He said, Donald Trump makes the people I care about afraid. A lot of America feels that way. We don't need to be afraid. Franklin Roosevelt was right. All we have to fear is fear itself. Kamala Harris
Fear's
is
the
bringing
mind
us a
killer,
new way
bro.
forward. She's bringing us a politics of joy. She's bringing real solutions for the middle class, and she's centering you at the heart of that. All the while asking
feel centered.
everyone, join this movement, make your voices heard,
And make
look for a new
America
day
great again.
where everybody gets that opportunity and everybody gets a chance
I even
to
stumbled
thrive.
through it,
I
dude.
humbly ask for your vote on November 5th for Kamala Harris.
Hey,
Governor
bro, you
Walz,
got it,
thank
big
you.
dog.
Senator Vance,
Anything
your
for
closing
you,
statement.
Poppy.
Well, I wanna
Let's
thank Governor
see.
Walz,
See if JD can
you
sway
folks at
me.
CBS and of course the American people for
Can
tuning in this
sway
evening.
me.
And one of the issues we didn't talk about was energy. And I remember when I was being raised by my
Oh my God, he's
grandmother,
gonna yap
when she
more,
didn't have
dude.
enough money to turn on the heat
He's
some
gonna
nights.
yap.
My
because
maternal
Ohio gets pretty
grandmother.
cold at night, and because money was often very tight. And
I
I
had
a
believe,
thick
as a
mat
person who
hair
wants to be your next vice
of her
president,
pubic
that we
hair.
are
Oh,
a
no.
rich and prosperous enough country where every American,
Jordan
whether they're rich
Peterson.
or poor, ought to be able to turn on their heat in the middle
He
of
said,
this cold winter
"There's
night.
two wolves."
That's gotten more difficult thanks to Kamala Harris's energy policies. I believe that whether you're rich or poor, you
I'm
ought
not
to be
gonna lie,
able to
dude.
afford
That
a
suit
nice
that
meal for your
Harvey
family. That's gotten
Dent suit he
harder
wears though,
because of
dude.
Kamala
Yeah, it's
Harris's
pretty hot.
policies. I believe that whether you're rich or poor, you ought to be able to afford to buy a house. You ought to be able to live in safe neighborhoods. You ought to not have your communities flooded with fentanyl, and that too has
And
gotten
Haitian
harder with
migrants who
because of
eat
Kamala Harris's
dogs.
policies. Now, I've been in politics long enough to do what Kamala Harris does when she stands before the American people and says that on day one, she's going to work on all these challenges I just listed. She's been the
Bro, I
vice
said I would
president for
work on it,
3
dude.
years.
Shit.
Day one was 1,400 days ago, and her policies have made these problems worse. Now, I believe that we have the most beautiful country in the world. I meet people on the campaign trail.
It's so
who can't
beautiful.
afford
So many
food,
illegal
but have
immigrants
the
are
grace
falling
and
over themselves to come
generosity
here.
to ask me how I'm doing and to tell me they're praying for my family. What that has taught me is that we have the greatest country, the most beautiful country, the most incredible people anywhere in the world. But they're not going to be able to achieve their full dreams with the broken leadership that we have in Washington. They're not going to be able to live their American dream if we do the same thing that we've been doing for the last 3.5 years. We need change. We need a new direction. We need a president who has already done this once before and did it well. Please vote for Donald Trump. And whether you vote for me or vote for Tim Walz, I just want to say I'm so proud to be doing this, and I'm rooting for you. God bless you, and good night.
Senator Vance, thank you.
Room for me,
and
dude.
Thank you both for participating in the only vice presidential debate of this election cycle. I'm Margaret Brennan.
And I'm Nora O'Donnell. And a reminder, there are just 35 days until Election Day.
Damn, 35 days.
That's it, baby.
At CBS News. Thank you.
4 days to register.
Eee.
Or it's too late.
He said, "Don't touch me, dude. I ain't a couch, bro. You don't want to touch this."
Handshake, and that's the end. Tim Walz, J.D. Vance squaring off for about 90
Look at them talking
minutes in the
chop.
heart of Midtown
Yeah.
Manhattan, the CBS
Bullshitting.
News studios, as their families come out to greet them after what was really a quite civilized debate. And I mean, perhaps that's one of the headlines we'll talk about as we turn to meet the press moderator.
Said, "This is my wife. She's a woman of color."
Our senior Washington correspondent Lester here.
I understand that she's not white. That's okay.
I really am struck. We had kind of like a good old-fashioned
He's actually Haitian.
debate.
We just took 23andMe.
Didn't get nasty. Didn't get,
I'm also half Haitian.
You know,
Shit, I was AFK. It's over.
They took their
Oh,
shots,
no,
and it
it's
was
Damn.
over. And there were even
Yeah, big dog.
It's over, dude.
What was the last question?
There was no last question. It was closing remarks.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dumb.
Oh, he says, "Ow."
never mind. I didn't miss anything.
Yeah, this. I mean, it's true.
Nah.
He didn't. Yeah, it was pretty lackluster at the very end there.
We didn't get any cool quotes, dude.
They're eating the dogs.
Yeah, we didn't. We did not get another. They're eating the cats.
No
They're
good
eating
memes out of
the
this
dogs.
one.
Well, it's because they're both not fucking senile, man. No shit, we didn't get any good quotes. God bless, we didn't. I switched the wrong thing, dude.
Timmy there, though, you know, he was looking a little slow sometimes.
Yeah, but he's an old man, dude. He still had his wits about him. He was pulling out the "my fucking state's done it all, baby. We're giving away
I
free
do like that,
houses
though.
to immigrants." Yeah, I think it was. It's interesting that you say that this debate was better because I think it was less entertaining overall.
I mean, yeah, obviously.
It wasn't nearly as bombastic.
But as like, you know, I want to hear people actually be coherent, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely helps when you got two people who are actually yapping and what they're yapping about makes a little more sense. Though, you know, Vance was out there saying some fucking wild shit. Hey, man, do you think he lost the 2020 election? I'm worried about the future.
Hey, do you have a plan? Do you actually have a solid plan?
said-
Immigrants are coming in.
He said, "What are you think I'm gonna sit here and be a fucking nerd and read you a fucking book or something? What are you, stupid?" Yeah, I got a fucking plan and I'll give it to you when I'm in the White House, baby. And he spits at her. Yeah, I thought it was fine though. I don't think it definitely didn't change my mind about anything. It'll be interesting when I listen to like my podcast tomorrow to see if anybody's like, "Damn, that fucking Tim Walz really knows what he's talking about, man." I'm gonna have to look into his state and see what's up. I don't think it's gonna sway anybody, but you never know. It might do it.
I mean, I think like you said last time, people already know who they're voting for at this point.
Yeah. Unfortunately. But you know.
Right, Jack?
Yeah, man.
Jack's out there eating the cats and the dogs, dude.
They're eating the
shit.
dogs.
He said, "Cut me some fucking slack. I had to listen to these dudes. You want me to keep yapping about them?" Shit, Jack finished it 6 minutes early. We should have followed his lead, dude. All right, boys. Any closing remarks about this shit show?
Register to vote. Go vote. You know, don't be like, "Oh, my vote doesn't matter." No, go out there, do your thing.
I love it. We're out here. The guy who can't vote is telling people to vote. We love that.
Yeah, this fucking guy, dude.
Come on, dude. I'm a dreamer, dude. I'm DACA,
Fucking
dude.
three illegals in a trench coat over here trying to tell us what to do.
Trench coat. Oh, Jack, we can't say that. We're way too white for that. No, I agree, man. Even if you're on the wrong side of history and you're going to be a dumb, fucking worthless piece of shit and vote for people who don't want to give you health care or help you with housing prices or help you get a job, sure, go fucking be a dumbass and vote for the wrong guys.
Shout out that Life Dodgers fan or whatever.
Dodgers for fucking shitting in my mouth because I'm a dumb fuck. Hey, he gave me a
and
view,
Nathan.
Man. No, his name is Ethan, dude.
Oh, Ethan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the worst. All right, if we got nothing left, that was our review of the vice presidential debate between Tim Walz and JD Vance. And then until the next time, I love you guys. Bye.
See you.
Damn, Jack doesn't know how to do the thing, dude.